The only other podcast you and I've done is in a small little entryway to the old shop with Texas Performance and yourself.
When was that? How long ago was that?
I mean, y'all had just moved in together. So it had to be 2021, too.
I think maybe 21, yeah.
Because I think we were doing that project here, that first High Seas paint job.
That's right.
And you were building that silver and black with red pinstripe bike. But it had to be that, because remember the High Seas got put on hold.
That's right. Because
Was it 2020 or 2021?
I think it was 2020.
Okay.
I think Mark and I moved into that spot. It was either 20 or 21, because I remember that's when COVID hit and it shut everything down. Yeah. So I think it was probably right around that.
Yeah.
God, dude, that's forever.
Dude,
it's really not, but it is.
Having history in the motorcycle world, or just in this industry, or just being a part of it, it really goes quickly.
It goes quickly, man.
You know what I mean? Like there's so much to do, especially if you're in the spaces like you are, where you're building bikes and you're connecting with the, opportunities and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it just really rolls and time flies.
And you always go, God, it's Friday again. You're like, dude, it's 2025. It was like, I blinked an eye and it was 2018. I'm like, oh man. So
yeah,
man.
Obviously every time I get around you, like you're a wealth of knowledge, and not just in like the parallels of like taking your career in music, and also how it kind of coincides and parallels once again with the motorcycle world and in your path of building and getting into all this. But man, I find it so fascinating, right? Yeah. Why? And I think we talked about this in the first one, but just for the memory refresh, how do you go from drumming around the world on the biggest stages to I want to get flash burn. I want to get
I want to get stressed out. I want to figure out,
I want to melt metal together.
Yeah, how the hell am I going to make that work? Man, and to be honest, most of the people that have done the research on me, and I hate to use that term research, I was into motorcycles way before I got bit by the bug of music. I have a picture on my wall in my shop of my father sitting on his 1974 orange AMF 250 SX one lunger HD, which I would give the world to have that bike now.
Yeah.
In the forefront of that was my little MR50, little Honda MR50, which was a real motorcycle, clutch, Kickstarter. It wasn't a Briggs & Stratton. And I was 5.
Damn.
So my father came home one spring afternoon with a trailer with his bike, his HD, my little MR50, and my brother's Honda 125 Elsinore on a trailer. And my mom didn't speak to him for a month because he wanted the family to do something. We weren't the type of family that, jumped in the station wagon and went to the Grand Canyon and did that. We weren't that family. So my dad would tech the bikes with my brother, who went on later to open his own motocross shop at 18.
Damn.
And my mother would make all the food, and we would jump in the trailer in the Winnebago, and we'd take off and go do motocross around Central Texas. Because at that time we were living in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And my brother fought very hard to get, sponsored works by Honda, Team Honda, because he was racing with the likes of like guys like Marty Smith. And then later on, I tried to get into it and it just wasn't for me. So that was my younger years. So I have had motorcycles in my blood since the age of 5. When I got bit by the bug at music at 11, when I went to see my first concert, which was Kiss, my parents dropped me off at the Beaumont Civic Center with a $20 bill at 8 o'clock by myself, Jace. I went in, bought a ticket, bought a jersey that I still have, a hot dog, a Pepsi, got my seat, and proceeded to be absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
Came out of that show, gave my dad back $3. If that'll tell you how long ago that was. And from that moment on, music had taken over.
He paid the rent he paid the mortgage with the other $3.
Full on with the other 3. I was like, here you go, man. And so music was my life for everything. Yeah. And then we moved around a lot when I was younger because my father worked for General Motors, so we were constantly going to different dealerships. And when we moved to Austin in the summer of '85, that's where music really kicked in because the scene at that point was banging, dude. It was just such a great scene. but nobody
What
ever.
was the scene down there? Was it?
It was 6th Street. There was the original Antone. 6th Street had a massive array of live venues. There was a country one. There was a funk bar. There was 2 or 3 rock bars. There was a dance club. There was a gorgeous charcuterie board of music entertainment. That's why when people would say, Austin Music, the live music capital of the world, I'm like, is it? But nobody was signing anybody.
Yeah.
So at that time, when I graduated in 87 from Round Rock, you either went to the East Coast or to the West Coast to pursue your dream of becoming a rock star or a successful musician. First time didn't work out for me when I moved to Hollywood. Just did not. I was just a mess. Came back with my tail between my legs, hung out for a while. And then the second time I went back, same thing, got involved with all the wrong strippers and all the wrong nonsense. And I came back and I had pretty much given up music. I was done. I was like, okay, it's just not for me. And I happened to see one night on 6th Street a silver-based flake FL 77 with a magenta flame job. And I stared at that bike, dude, for hours, and I waited for the owner. 2:30 in the morning, he comes crawling out of the Cub. I'm like, hey, man, who built that bike? And he goes, I did. I go, well, who painted it? He goes, I did. I go, you have a shop? He goes, yeah, my dad and I have a shop in South Austin called Classic and Custom. Okay. Well, at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I went and bullshitted my way into a parts position at Central Texas Harley-Davidson when it was on Lamar. That's how long ago. When Les Paul owned it after Buddy, the OG.
Yeah.
So I was working the parts counter at HD during the day, and then I would go moonlight at Classic and Custom.
Okay.
So I was already back into the motorcycle vein, if you will. And I put together a couple of bands that failed and still banging around Austin. And then I got a call from a buddy of mine. And I went back out to LA for the 3rd time. And I said, this is it. This is it. I'm putting it to rest after this one. If I go back and it hasn't happened, I'm going to find some chick, get married, squeeze out a couple of pups, get a job, be a normal dude. Well, that didn't happen. The thing happened. And I went from the kid from Round Rock who, had aspirations of being that guy, being Tommy Lee and all that stuff. And it happened, So years later, after all the touring and after all the gold records and platinum records and all of the scars and all of the bad stuff that you hear about that, because nobody ever says, let's party like a dentist. Hey, let's party like a rock star. Yeah. It started to wear off, man. I had changed my life in 2012, the complete direction of my life and how I conducted it and to the best that I could. And the music industry had changed so much, dude. Like the only way back then to really make it happen, which is we were just talking about this, was bringing your product to the masses, which means you have to be on a tour bus. At that point in time, there was no point and click, cherry picking a record, this song. No, it was, you had to go out, sell the commodity, which is a CD. And that kept me on the road for 18 years, 10 months out of the year. We would go make another record and go back out.
So that 3rd time you went back out to, LA, what was that process? Like, how long did it take before you felt like, okay, this is actually going to happen? Like, I mean,
the first
wasn't like you showed up and then it was all right.
The first 2 times were all about, I was still enamored by living in Hollywood and remembering all of the videos that I had watched about the Sunset Strip. And I'm so grateful, dude, because that scene is gone. Yeah. Those clubs are gone, Jace. Like when I went there was this electricity, man. That was like, I'm playing the same places at Van Halen, Guns N' Roses, Rat, Motley Crue, all of them. They're gone. They don't exist anymore. So I feel so fortunate that I got to do that, but I feel very sad because like we were just talking about, the younger generation has nothing to look at and go, So I feel really fortunate about that. It's like when that wall that you have down there with all those David Manns, dude, there's only a certain amount of people that can walk in this place and look at that and understand it and feel it, And when it all started, when the music business, because I didn't know it was a business, I just thought it was like, hey, we're having a good time. I had no idea it was a business. When it started to turn into more about the money than it was the integrity of the music.
Yeah.
And I had changed my mentality and perception of life. It just didn't feel right anymore.
Yeah.
I felt kind of like a whore. Like, I'm not really into this. And I still dig the dudes in the band for the most part. But the idea of creation and putting out the best product that we could kind of started to fizzle. And when that started to happen, like anything else, it's like a relationship with your wife or your girlfriend or your business partner, whatever. When that thing starts to, that passion, because let's be honest, nobody wakes up and goes, I'm going to defy all the odds and I'm going to go out and follow my dream. And then it happens. Very rarely does that happen. So when that actually did happen, I had to ask myself, I'm not really happy anymore doing this. So why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Because it ain't about the booze anymore. It wasn't about the dope and it wasn't about the chicks and it wasn't about the money. I just loved to play drums in front of people. There's something amazing about creating a song that's an idea in a room with 4 or 5 other guys. It's just an idea. It's a riff. Yeah. And then that riff becomes this. And then that guy puts his little thing and that guy puts his little thing. And then it goes into a little Pro Tools rig. And then you wait and then you come back and you start to make a record and you start pulling all of these ideas. And then when that idea becomes a song, then it becomes a demo, then it goes on the record. And 9 months later or 4 months later, the person that you saw last year is singing that song. That's a beautiful thing, dude. That's the creative process.
I can only imagine how, getting 4 or 5, as you said, creative individuals together to all be mentally in the same space to put themselves into music. Like when you're a kid and you think about your band breaking up or whatever it is, like you can be like, oh man, these guys are they're too cool for school. But it's like really like you get like these magical moments when like the planets align, these guys get on the same wavelength and they make amazing records, right?
That's the magic.
That's got to be, there needs to be more emphasis of, hey man, you guys, Deftones, you kept it together for 20 something, 30 years. Right. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Or, for Metallica's probably a bad, I mean, it's kind of together.
They're still together.
But you know what I mean? But like, you see what I'm saying? Like it's how do you get everybody to stay on the same page with the same goal when everybody's evolving and growing and changing?
Because when you're young or when you're not successful and you're starving. Yeah. Because I was working at Harley Davidson in Glendale running parts back and forth. As a day job, I would take my dinner, which was usually consisted of a sandwich. I would eat it on the way to rehearsal. And then we would rehearse till 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. We had the weekends off because 2 of the other guys have kids. When you're that, it's a gang mentality, dude. Yeah. You're Spartans, bro. You've got the spear and the shield and you're all doing it together. When success starts to happen and money starts to happen and the wives start chirping in the certain people's ears and the managers and the business managers, oh, you don't really need that guy, hey, you're the one who really writes the music. He doesn't. That's when it gets ugly. Yeah. Okay. Bunny Carlos, a drummer from Cheap Trick, said, I don't get paid to play music. I get paid to travel. So that thing that you're talking about is the same. Imagine if it took you and 4 great painters and you put them down in that room. Somebody's going to get edged. Yeah. So when you have a band like that, or any band, it's like being married to 4 other dudes, but when you get in a massive fight, there's no makeup sex. Yeah. So you literally have to understand what your role is. And thank God for my guitar player. To this day, I still talk to him. Yeah. He's one of the greatest men I've ever met. Taught me that in any specific situation that you're in, know your role because your role is valuable. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And when those lines start to get blurred, Because in the beginning, when we started making money, I was like, well, how come I'm not, invited into the musical process? And how come I'm not invited into the. And one of my best friends at the time was like, hey, man, do you even know how to play guitar? I'm like, well, yeah, kind of. He goes, do you think you can write a hit song? I go, well, I doubt it. Then what makes you think you should be, your publishing should be bigger? And he goes, oh, and besides, when you're asleep, he's in the front lounge still writing every night till 4 a.m. That's the responsibility that he has.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, so that beautiful chemistry that is usually infused with a lot of aggression and emotion and passion is that ball of nuclear nonsense that creates great records.
Yeah.
The trick is how to harness that every time to continue the process. Because you know as well as I do of bands that have been super famous and then they're gone. Like one record and they're gone. I mean, I made with that band more records than the Beatles and Zeppelin. That's crazy, dude. When I think about that, and like we were talking earlier, the first record that I did with them, 15, is going to be 20 years old.
Yeah.
I think in like a month or something. That's insane for me to think, But all of that amazing stuff that happened, and then you wake up and you're like, and I knew the moment that it happened, we were somewhere in Europe and I think we were playing some festival and it was probably, dude, 70,000 people there. And I asked myself literally while I was playing, Jace, why are you here?
Yeah.
I am not enjoying this. And that's a really messed up thing to feel because there's 11 million musicians out there that would give their left nut to trade places with me.
Yeah.
So it had become a thing. I had gotten older, I'd gotten wiser, I'd gotten smarter, and I'd gotten less foggy up here.
Well, you also kind of revealed the idea or the expectation of what you thought was going to happen of becoming this high level musician.
Yeah.
To where now, okay, well, in my mind, all the movies, all the music videos, all the things that kind of portrayed this, yes, that exists, but they doesn't really exist in the way of showing the hangover, the fog, the things that gets created out of all this fun. And then it takes away the fun. And now now you're numb to it, basically.
You're numb to it, literally. And you're constantly looking to get that fix. Whatever that fix is, whether it's booze, dope, chicks, motorcycles, watches, there's a hole in you. Yeah. At least there was in me. And you get into this frame and mentality that at least at that point, you're untouchable. It's adult daycare and it's a license to be a complete idiot. There's nothing to do. I worked for an hour and 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Now, playing drums, that's not work. That's fun. It's the other 20 some odd hours that allows you to get into a lot of trouble. But when all that really started to change and I think I was in my late 40s.
Yeah.
I was flying home from New York City. I think we played the Garden, dude. Madison Square Garden. Hello. When you're a kid, there's a couple of places that you want to play in the world, at least for me. Your hometown arena, which I did with Kiss, the Irwin Center. The Budokan, which when you hear Cheap Tricks, I Want You to Want Me, that's the Budokan. And then Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And maybe Download, which back then used to be Castle Donington. I'd done those. And I'm flying home for the holidays and I'm like, this is it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And that was literally the defining moment. And it was because I thought the band would get a deal. And when I never wanted all that stuff that went along with all the success, like the chicks and the booze and I never thought about that. When I got on a tour bus, that's when I had made it because I could picture the Journey video of Faithfully when they're all 5 of those old Silver Eagle Prevos are going around the mountain. I could picture the Home Sweet Home video. That's how I connected my success was that. Yeah, everything else was just like, because I'm a visual person.
Yeah.
And when it started to, all that started to really just kind of go like this to like this little black dot, I was like, I'm okay. I thought we would make a record and then we would break up like the next year. And I went to LA, I made a record. I was on a tour bus. Cool. I did it.
Yeah.
Back to reality. What reality was, I had no idea, dude, because that's all I had ever done since 11.
Do you think that, this has just popped off my head, do you think that you have more expectations as a younger person or as an older person?
Oh, much older. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, because when you're young, you don't give a shit. You don't.
Yeah.
When I was younger, dude, and I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine that's in Papa Roach. Mm-hmm. We were talking about it. I'm like, dude, did you ever think we would be in our 50s, late 50s? Because at that point in time, when him and I were together or on tour together many, many times, we're like, we're going to die. He's like, yeah, we're going to die, dude. We're going to go out just like John Bonham. This is great. Yeah. You know, you have more expectations when you get older, hopefully because you get wiser. You start to think about, man, I got a family to take care of. I have responsibilities, not only to my family and the people, my friends that love me, but I don't need to be another example of a stupid decision to somebody that's younger than me. And that doesn't matter whether it's music or motorcycles or anything, period. It's
kind of like you either die before 20 or at 27.
Yeah, the 27 club.
Live it out.
That's right. And people go, well, maybe it's better the 20. Maybe, because when you're past that, you still got to deal with life.
Yeah.
As a kid, you don't care.
Yeah.
You got nothing to lose, dude. As long as I had enough money to pay for my little apartment in Austin, off of Old Torf. It was a quadplex. It was bigger. It was about the size of this room, dude. Literally. My drums are right there, my bed, my bathroom, a kitchen, and I used to park my Harley inside.
Nice.
As long as I had money for that, gas money, beer money, some dope money, strip club money, could pay my insurance, I didn't care. Yeah. You know, there was never the responsibility, the worries of what we have when we get older. But that's the beauty of it. If you stayed like that, then you have friends that you look at or guys that you know and go, dude, you've got to grow the fuck up.
100%.
You are not 25 anymore. Your body is not going to take that anymore.
The older you get, the more the bar raises, and it's because like you said,
it's supposed to.
In your teens, man. If I can just get where I don't have to stress about bills,
right?
And then it's like, oh well, if I can, man, I'm in a band, I'm doing what I want to do. Now, if I could do that as a lifetime, and I don't just have to do it part time, that's
totally
the epitome. Then you get there, it's like, well, maybe
well, now what? Right? Because it's the ever elusive chasing of that thing of like, well, if I only, and then you go, wait a minute, 20 years has gone by.
Yeah.
You know, and you just start to think, but that's the beauty of it, dude, is we get to sit here today because of a lot of our friends are dead. A lot of my friends are dead because they made stupid decisions and couldn't figure it out. By the grace of God, something happened to me, something hit me, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Hey, whoa. I have a responsibility to take care of my mother in her old age because I promised my father on his deathbed that I would. I have a responsibility to my family to take care of them because I'm a fucking man now. I'm not some punk kid running around going, you know. And going back to your initial question, how do you do that? How did I leave from that to this? Because people still are like, why would you leave that? Walk a mile in a man's shoes and then ask him that question.
Yeah.
Now, everything about it from the outside is glorious. And I'm not going to take away from it. It was. But when we were talking earlier about all the people that we watch, you know, for whatever reason that is, everything has a shelf life. And when I look at that period of my life, as much as we were talking about like that downslope, that little roller coaster, I walk into my bedroom and I go, nobody can take any of these platinum and gold records away. Nobody can take any of the memories that I still have, the ones that I remember, because a lot of them are gone from a lot of drugs. But nobody can do that.
Yeah.
I did that. And it was great. But it doesn't define who I am as a man. It's just what I did. And it took me years after I left the band in February of 17 to understand that. Because for 18 years, I was just a drummer in Buck Cherry. I hadn't delved into motorcycles. I had a wonderful family, a wonderful parents, blah, 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 all that stuff. But that's who I thought I was. And when you leave that, bro, that's a really weird thing to like step back and go, okay, well, who the fuck am I?
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, you left it, but then that thing still exists. And
Absolutely.
It still goes on.
And the greatest thing about it is I personally, with every fiber in my being, feel and believe that we are all exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
When I left, Keith left, who was one of the other founding members.
Yeah.
He left 2 weeks later. And Josh and Stevie continued because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Keith went on to become a great producer who still does it and still writes for people. We had a conversation about a month ago and he's like, that record's going to be 20 years old, dude. And I go, I know. He goes, I never thought we would go that long. He goes, I thought we would make maybe 2 records. We'd break up and that'd be it. He goes, I had no idea we would be together for 18 fucking years. I go, neither did I. I go, I wish I could remember the middle 9 or 8, But those guys, Josh and Stevie, are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing because, again, they have to provide for their families.
So I'm seeing some parallels that I kind of deal with on a much smaller scale, like the idea of, when I was a kid and I found custom paint, all I really wanted to do was to be the highest level airbrush artist I could ever be. Not saying I ever got there, but I did get success in that space. And once I got it, you're supposed to just be grateful and you're supposed to just ride that wave. But I got it at 30 years old and then I got bored and I kind of wanted to learn how to do this. I want to do this, a podcast. I never thought I'd want to do these type of things.
Right.
And so then you kind of like, I felt like I was cheating on myself a lot. Like, kind of like I made a deal with the devil or the universe and they gave me something that I asked for.
Right.
Realistically, when I was younger, I didn't ask for enough.
Right. Right.
And now like you get to this point in your life where you're kind of like unfulfilled, if you will.
Well,
but it does feel like you're being ungrateful.
There's a certain beauty into, and again, this is that balance factor. There's a certain beauty in understanding of wanting more. Because when you stop wanting more, when you stop wanting to be a better painter, a better motorcycle builder, a better drummer, a better husband, a better father, then why are you even here?
Yeah.
You've literally stopped growing. I firmly believe that you should continue to do that to the day you're in the box. And when I got to that point where, for me, like you, I'm like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
I've always kind of said this, and I say it because some of the people I love the most in my family, I learned through them that you kind of get old when you stop having dreams.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Because
you don't aspire for anything.
Yeah.
Why wake up?
Yeah.
Why? You're as menial, and maybe you don't understand this, but I'm going to tell you. When you woke up this morning and your day was planned to come and show me that frame. When I walk in and I look at that, which is just another frame to you.
Yeah.
It's just another paint job. You don't understand the adulation and excitement that I feel from what you created when you started doing what you were doing as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I walk in and I get to look at that, there is, for me, another sense of energy that I'm shooting to you.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
You could.
I could if I wanted to apply myself, but I know my boundaries. I know my role because that's not something I want to do. But when you stop being grateful for what you're doing and somebody else looks at you and goes, dude, that bike or that one drum chop that you did in the middle of that song or that frame, all that needs to go in, all that, for me, all that stuff goes into my bank account in my head. Like, okay, one more little nickel.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying when you first walked in. We were having one of our deep conversations, but it's that relationship with confidence.
Yes.
And
it's the balancing act, dude.
Yeah.
It's the horrible, everybody always talks about the devil and the angel. I don't have that anymore. What I have is the confidence and the ego, and they're both trying to figure out how they're going to overpower each other to make me be something that I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Because I remember what it was like to do that. I remember what it was like to walk around thinking just because I had all this killer jewelry and all this money. Really?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like my father taught me, you can always judge a man by how many people come to his fucking funeral.
Yeah.
And all this, everything that we have is material. At the end of the day, what I cherish most in life now is probably the 1 to 4 people on this hand that I know would take a bullet for me.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the same industry, dude, you have all of the hanger-oners that either want something from you or are going to try and rip something off from you. The ones that are around you that you don't have to worry about, that's the deal, dude. That's the beauty of it. But you're not going to understand that till you get older, because you have to go through all of that bullshit, all of those people, all of that crap to go, I know what that looks like over there, and I don't want any part of that. So I'm just going to tip my hat, and I'm going to go this way.
That sometimes is a problem when you have a podcast and you already have some of those experiences and you feel like you're ruining other people's stoke because you see the silver lining or you see the writing on the wall is probably
But
better.
everybody has to learn.
Yeah.
You will never be able to teach somebody how to not make that stripe over that situation until they do it themselves. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
It's going to be much more beneficial for you inside when you fuck up a piece of metal and then you call somebody or they come over and they show you how to do it and you do it the first time. You're like, cool.
You know, like what we were talking about is just the learning how to do all this stuff from Corey at Main Drive. I'm learning and I'm gaining and I'm a visual learner. So I'm getting it there. But it's kind of like you want to learn in person, but you want to practice in private so that you're not trying to impress the person. Right. You're just trying to do the thing that you thought.
That ego thing that we have, that confidence thing, you don't want your homeboy standing next to you going, and you're feeling like, dude, trust me, I get it.
Perform. Yeah. You just want to, and so that's kind of what I was getting at, is that like, I've learned a lot and I'm still learning every day. And I'm super grateful for guys like Corey and yourself and other people that are willing to share the sauce, if you will. Yeah. But there's part of me that wants to get a frame jig, buy a frame, chop it up, do what I think I saw, what I think I know how to do to a completion, and then having you guys come over and go, all right, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. Okay, now, so this is right. All right, so now note it. Now I got to focus on this.
The way I look at that is if somebody asked you, and do a mirror.
Yeah.
If somebody asked you, hey, Jace, how do I get into painting? So take that same question and turn it around towards yourself, because that's what I did when I was with Billy. And he was like, you just do it.
Yeah.
You fuck up a ton. And when the first time you get it right, you go, write it down. Dude, I still have the same book.
Yeah.
When I left the band in 2017 and I ghosted Billy at Choppers Inc. in Florida. And I built a bike for the In Motion show for Galveston.
Yeah.
He said, here's everything you need. I am not going to do this for you. If you have a question, ask me. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And everything I did after that, I wrote down. I'm like, okay, oxyacetylene has to be 1215. TIG welding 16 gauge has to be at 65 to 80. I wrote it all down and I still have it because I forget sometimes and I have to go back to that. It's the same thing with the painting. You would never tell a guy to go out and grab a $700 Simpson helmet and, you know what I'm saying? Practice small. But that's the beauty of wanting to learn, but having the ability to take criticism from somebody who has already done it and put that ego thing that you and I have aside. Because at that point, I'm just a student. Yeah. I don't know anything, and I won't know anything till I fuck up and learn something, you know? So.
Yeah. The criticism thing and the taking it, when you go down a path long enough, you realize the importance of it, because also you might have gained the attention of the people that you find that you actually want the criticism from.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I think the problem with social media, and I've always said this, is that like I was fortunate that I got to learn how to be a painter before social media. So I got to fuck up in private. I got to fuck up on a like a scene base.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Where maybe 30 people.
Yeah,
like,
when somebody
Jay's
come in and
fucked
goes,
that
yeah,
one up.
oof, that's some
As
orange
opposed
peel.
to like, there's some people that's gained a lot of attention through their painting through using social media where you can hide
everything.
Yeah. And then you see it in person and then they get blown up on the internet. And I'm like, man, like I feel for that because I understand like there's a time that you have to put on every skill, right? You could say it's the 10,000 hours. You could say that, but
sometimes it's more.
You put that time thing on there. And if you just picked up a paint gun or tape or an airbrush or a guitar or whatever, you can practice all you want. But time is the thing that's going to allow you to learn how to get through the mistakes and the fuck ups and the, how to recover from certain things.
And how to grow, how to get better. The first time I put something on social media, motorcycle related, I was making some struts and I was all excited because I was chomping on Jeff Cochran's bit and I loved the way his struts are.
Yeah.
And I made them in my one-car garage in Burbank because none of this really started. I was still in the band, but I needed something to keep myself busy.
Yeah.
Because I was unhappy with the band. So that's when the whole motorcycle thing started to really, really happen, other than meeting Billy Lane and da-da-da-da-da. But I put it out on on Instagram. I was so excited. And Jeff Cochran called me and he says, hey man, that's going to break. And I went, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? I mean, look good. He's like, I'm going to tell you why. If you want to hear it. If not, go ahead. And I'm like, you know what? This guy's built hundreds and hundreds of motorcycles and he is successful. You should probably fucking check yourself and listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when he explained to me, he goes, that's going to break. Your passenger's butt's going to get sucked up under that fender and you're both going to wind up in the hospital. And I don't want to see that happen to you. So I'm doing this because I care about you. And I went, but right there, dude, that was the first lesson in many where I had to go, that ego's got to go.
Yeah.
And there have been many, many times since then when I can call him. And it's because of that. It's because of having enough humility to go, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Drums all day long. I know I'm good. This, I have no idea what I'm doing. Making those calls to guys like him and Billy and Paul Cox and Will Ramsey and Rick Bray and all those guys where they're like, yeah, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. And Rick's another one. I'll send him a picture. Hey, look at this. Isn't this cool? He's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why? And then he explains it. I go, okay. So those things, once again, now we're back to if you're not willing to keep learning, what are you doing?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I got. I mean, I've kind of come out of this, but I got to that point where I didn't know what else to chase and paint.
Right.
Not that I got to the top. Not the top didn't look like that much extra effort.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough juice left in that squeeze to want to pursue it anymore.
Right.
And I mean, I've kind of since found a more healthy and sustainable kind of relationship with it.
Yeah.
Where I enjoy it more. But yeah, for a while I was like, man, like I feel like if I could put more energy into the other things that I love, then I could build those.
Right.
And then you're kind of like, all right, well, the only thing is different is if I put energy into a paint job, I make enough money to live.
Sure.
If I put all the energy in the podcast, I'm still at the mercy of the economy.
Correct.
And who's willing to sponsor it, who's willing to support through Patreon and all those kind of things, right?
Yep.
So I can make the baddest show. This could be on fucking TV, right?
Yeah.
It can't, but
Yeah.
it could, right? I'm still at the mercy of who wants to pay for it.
Right.
I mean, I guess in the same way as a paint job, but I've already established in that.
But you're already established it.
Yeah.
It's the same in, like for me in the music. I still get calls to go do records.
Yeah.
If I like the material and the guys are cool, it ain't about the money.
Yeah, it's about being a part of it. Yeah.
Get me out there. I've got a couple of points on the record. If it works out, feed me, shelter me. I'd love to make your record if it's a great record.
Yeah.
But that comes with that. that comes with that time, and it comes with the discipline of like, okay, if I'm going over here, I'm not at the shop banging and welding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but the beauty of that, dude, is there's so many options. You have so many options. You have paint, you have podcast, you have the ability to jump on a bike that you built and ride for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Dude, fucking, there's not a lot of cats that I know that can do that.
I mean, I really can't do
Right?
that.
I know, but you did. And at the end of the day, you know, the lights are on.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bills are paid. It's good, you know?
Yeah.
But it's finding that everything is, to me now, dude, is about balance. Like, it's really trippy to me to sit behind this mic and look behind you and see a frame that I did. That's messed up
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Because I still feel like I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
And once that goes away, I think there's going to be a real fucking problem with me. You know, I don't ever build anything for anyone that I don't want to. And my biggest fucking competition is the thing between my ears.
Yeah.
It is not anybody in the industry, because at the end of the day, nobody in the industry pays my bills.
Yeah.
They're not in my shop stressing out at 11 o'clock at night trying to get the stuff welded so that you can come pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay? So I have learned, if you're not part of the solution in my problems, then you're probably part of the problem. So I need to reevaluate where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. And it's not a mean thing. I can disconnect with love, grace, and mercy as easy as I can with fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've learned that because of my experiences in life thus far. And with the motorcycle situation, you know, and I've told you before, when I left the band, I did everything in 2017 motorcycle related. I went to every rally. I spent so much money because I had never been able to experience the motorcycle culture, because I was always on the stage, or I was in a meet and greet, or when my buddies were all hanging out at the Sturgis Buffalo Chip when we're opening for Def Leppard, and all my buddies are on the side. When the show is done, I've got to go do a meet and greet, and then I've got to do this and eat some food and then get on a bus and take off and go.
Yeah.
I was at the Buffalo Chip for 8 years in a row, Jace. Never once did I see past the stage. I never went into Sturgis, into the town, ever. The first time I actually went there, I went, this is it? Yeah. I'm like, it looks a lot bigger on the Discovery Channel, you know, but because that was my life. My life, as much as it was, that was very... You know, there wasn't a lot of time. People go, oh, dude, you went to Europe and you went to Japan and South America. Yeah, you know what I saw? Stadium. The road, the stadium, the dressing room, a meet and greet, probably threw up in 1 or 2 toilets, I don't know, a hotel, and then I'm back on a plane.
Yeah.
That's just that's the way the traveling life is. Unless you're one of those bands that has the ability to like spend all that money, you know, we're going to hang out in Paris for a week. No, you know why? Because I need to go home and take care of my mom.
Yeah.
I'm not spending that money on that bullshit, you know? So the point to that is that if you're lucky / blessed enough to get to do what you want to any degree that's successful, there's a shelf life. And I want to be the one who chooses what that shelf life is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these guys that are hanging on to their laurels and still scratching and clawing and trying to, I'm like, dude, that is so much work. I don't want any part of that.
I imagine what must it be like to, you know, when you were winning a Grammy and things like that, to like allow that to exist and not feel like you have to compete with that level of something for the rest of your life.
Are you going to, once again, are we going to chase it?
Yeah.
But if I only, you know.
So it goes back to the concept of like, as you get older, you know what you were capable of.
Sure.
And then you fight, you're kind of like, okay, well, how much am I capable of now?
Right.
You know, and I'm in this weird boat in my head too right now, where I'm like,
yep.
How much I miss the days that I used to be able to come to work and I would be here till 3 a.m. all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Because I was just like, man, I just don't want to peel away from it. I want to get it done.
Yeah.
I don't think I did it to the quality that I do now, and I work way less.
Right. Right.
But I miss the ability to just crank it out and get it done.
To be there, the drive.
The drive. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I am literally going to sit here for X amount of hours and figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
And But you know, another I love movie quotes because we were at the coffee shop. Clint Eastwood, man, a man's got to know his limitations, and that's not only just it's everything. It's your mental, it's your spiritual, it's your physical. Dude, I can't fucking play the way that I did when I was 30.
Yeah.
I can't stay up the way that I did because I have a different mindset and mentality and perception on life. I don't want to. I did it. I lived through it. I've got every gray hair to prove it.
Yeah.
What I love now is that I've learned to harness that passion to the best of my ability and go, this is where it's being applied right now with everything I got. And then I'm going to set it down and I'm going to go over here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be happy because the thing about for me in the music and the motorcycles is that when I get sick of bikes,
You can escape over there.
I go and I sit behind a drum set and I beat the fucking shit out of them like they owe me money.
Yeah.
And then I kid you not, I've done this. I've been playing a song and doing something and I go, fuck, if I bend it that way, then it can,
Yeah.
and I'll stop and I'll go on the whiteboard and I'll write it down and then I'll go back and finish what I was doing, you know? So for you, it's the same thing. You have these avenues of escape that allow you to let that breathe for a second and then come over here. And dude, if I could get on a bike for 8 weeks, fuck, I don't know if I'd come back. I've told my old lady that. I'm like, you know, if I could do that, it'd be great.
That's kind of the perception of it, right? But the reality of it is 2 weeks in, I'm alone, and all I'm thinking about is how selfish this is.
Right. There they are,
Yeah.
right there, you know? So again, Garth Brooks, every blessing has a curse.
Yeah.
I just have to figure out how to balance everything that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about the motorcycles and music. I'm talking about just life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude is apt more to motorcycles or music as it is to people.
Yeah.
People.
What I feel like is at 42 years old, I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that's been absorbed. I don't know that it's been applied, but it's in there somewhere.
But it's there.
But you have so much information that every decision and every path you go down, you're kind of met with an overwhelming amount of too much thought process, as opposed to when I was in my 20s.
No.
You just kind of go at it. So there's this thing. It's like, I didn't understand how to learn things or gain the ability to do things in my early 20s and whatnot. Now I understand the process because I've been through it, right?
Right.
So I'm familiar with the process of picking up a torch and knowing, okay, I'm not going to be where I want to be tomorrow.
Right.
But when I was 20, I was like, I could probably do this tomorrow.
That's the key right there, dude. My guitar player always used, when I'd sit down, when I recorded my first record after I stopped,
Yeah.
I was so scared, dude, because I felt like there was no way I was going to have any kind of creativity. I am going to suck
Yeah.
because I don't know how to use this instrument
Without
the influence
Yeah.
or substance in me, because that's all I've ever known
Yeah.
since I picked it up at 12.
Yeah.
And we're working on some tracks and I'm like, and he goes, hey man. I go, yeah. He's like, can I come in and talk to you for a second? I said, absolutely. And this is Keith, who always co-produced every Buck Cherry record. So he had to take the hat of being a Buck Cherry member and one of my closest friends off and put on the hat of being a record producer, which I would never, ever want.
Yeah.
And he sits down and he goes, I'm going to tell you one thing, and I want you to think about it for a minute, and then I'm going to go in the other room, and you're just going to do what you do. And I went, so I'm waiting for some sort of like,
Yeah.
and he goes, trust in the process. And I went, it's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard. He walks in the control room, and I went, oh, because it starts off, the song starts, and then I go, boom, gat, doom, doom, gat, doom, doom, gat. That's one bar.
Yeah.
And so on, and so on, and so on. And that I've carried ever since then to everything that I do, every build that I sit there and I stare at, I go, I'm going to suck. This is not going to be good. I'm not going to be able to deliver what these people need or what this customer wants, or fuck, maybe that was just a one-shot deal and I made that tank. I'll never be able to do it.
Yeah.
you know?
And trust the process.
Trust the process. One weld at a time, one pinstripe at a time, one foot, one step at a time. And it's so retardedly simple, dude, and juvenile. But that's what we did when we were kids.
Yeah.
Before we got all in our heads and grew up and made it all more difficult and more. When we were kids, we never thought about it, dude. We just went, I'm going to put that board on top of that brick and I'm going to jump that ramp.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to walk over to that girl and say, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Right? So there's a certain beauty in that
Yeah.
train of thought. It's just how to use your maturity and your age and your knowledge to make that work.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like some of the guys we know, they're just like, he just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't care. Okay, well, is that good or bad?
Yeah.
Wouldn't work for me, might work for him.
So what I try to do is I try to consider the fact that, like, you know, I feel like the first 10 years of my custom paint career, which was, you know, I was still kind of customizing motorcycles. I'd always kind of put my foot in that water, if you were, toes in that water. But I feel like the process took a while, but
Yeah.
it was also because it was the first time for everything. So you
Sure.
were kind of doing it. And, you know, and I'd hope that basically kind of going through the process of, you know, learning how to be a photographer, you know, welding, which I haven't had a chance to spend the kind of time that I want,
Right.
but that I'll be able to apply the knowledge of, or at least the experience of what it was like to go through the motions of learning something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trust the process, like you said, but also not be, there's an expectation on the other end of it now, more so than there was originally.
Right.
Like when I first started painting, there was an expectation of like, maybe I can pay the bills with this,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm
do.
gonna keep doing
Trust
it.
me. Yeah. Trust
I remember
me.
I told myself, that I was going to give paint till I was 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And if I couldn't make a living off paint by 28, that I was going to just quit and go to school, a 2-year associates. Back then that meant something to have one.
Sure.
And I was going to start a career in something. And then
Yeah.
the honey digging started right then. I got just enough to not quit. And then just a little bit more.
Yes,
just a little
yeah,
bit more.
absolutely.
And then I'm 32, 33, and all the guys that went to college that I grew up with, now they're finally got some tenure in their fucking careers. And they're
Yeah.
like, hey, we're buying our first house. Or our second house.
Yeah. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, fuck. Man. Like, they're starting to do all the shit that I got to do at 21 and 2 because I was kind of living, you know, the thing about like the motorcycle world, the tattoo world, there is a rock star-ish kind
Yeah,
of lifestyle attached to
absolutely.
it, right?
Absolutely.
You're doing something that a lot of people would love to do, but you're also sacrificing a lot of things that a lot of people that don't do have.
That's the thing, dude. When people would tell me, wait a minute, you can't leave the band. I'm like, why can't I leave the band? Because you're doing everything that I can't.
Yeah.
Joey Kramer once told me we do because they can't.
Yeah.
Or no, we do because others can't. And I never really understood that. So when people would tell me how the glory in this and that of all I'm like, yeah, but guess what? You get to go home every night and crawl in the same bed with your wife. You get to kiss your kid on the forehead every night. You get to shit in the same toilet every day. Go to your freezer, and open it up, your fridge, and open it up, and that same can of Pepsi is still sitting there.
Yeah.
There's a trade-off. It's all a trade-off. It all comes back to the balance. And I really didn't think about that for the longest time. You know, when I'd see my friends or I'd come into town and I'd get them tickets or whatever, like, dude, your fucking life. I'm like, dude, yeah, but look at your little girl.
Yeah.
I remember when I held her in my arms and she's 7.
Yeah.
Look at how beautiful that is. I hadn't seen her in years. I'm like, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You can't have this without this. And my father, when I was just about to graduate high school, and I'll never forget this. We were sitting at the breakfast table. My mom was making, tacos and flipping tortillas, and my dad, like in a typical dad fashion, legs crossed, had the paper like this. I sit down at the table, and I'm like, I have something I want to talk to you guys about. And I'm like, okay. My dad never took the paper down.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up, mijo? I don't want to go to college. Okay. Well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a rock star. Shh. My mom turned around and said, "You're crazy," in Spanish.
Yeah.
And my dad said, "Okay, I'll support you. Your mother and I will support you with whatever you want to do." I was like, he goes, "Just know that it's going to come with more sacrifices than you ever thought possible. Are you okay with that?" And at 17, I'm like, "Okay,
You really
yeah,
don't understand
what,
sacrifice.
sacrifice? What does that mean? You know?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay." Right back to the paper. That, dude, is everything. You can't, when people say, "I want it all," okay, well, what are you willing to give up for it? Because you can't
I
break.
think it's an illusion. You can't.
It
have it all.
is an illusion.
And the goal. I think what you guys have been talking about is, as you get older and as you have things, the idea of what success is changes.
Yes.
When you're young,
100%.
success is I want all this monetary and I
Yes.
want all this materialistic stuff that makes me feel like it's going to be amazing.
Yep.
But also the thing is about like being younger, and you talked about it, you know, the idea of success was those tour buses and they were coming around the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Well, the same thing for like me in my career, like success was getting in a magazine finally.
Right.
It was like all these like, I guess they weren't small to my mind then, but these little achievements here
The
and there.
accolades, so when you do that, like when I think about that, like when I walk into my room every day, my office at home, all my stuff is on there, all the Grammy stuff and all my records and all the cover of Modern Drummer, dude.
Yeah.
That's the holy grail of drumming magazine. They kicked off Lars Ulrich that month to put us on, or me, because we were on tour with Motley at the time. Right? The normal person would go, "I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
but
cool. I've done it. I'm
something,
good."
come on.
Yeah, I'm right. Exactly. Well, that's a whole other story. You know, you can check the box, dude.
Yeah.
And like when I walk in here and I see all these amazing pieces of work, I'm like, you can check the box. So once again, that drive coupled with the knowledge and understanding the process, if you can keep all that in check to some degree, the best you can, that's living.
Yeah.
Because when I moved back out to LA the third time to join BC, I was 34. Nobody goes to LA at 34 to seek success. They have already established a home, a white picket fence, 2.5 kids. They got a mortgage. They're happy.
Yeah.
I was still driven by that one thing, which was I have not given it everything I could
Yeah.
for the right reasons, not the wrong. Everything I do now is about motive. What is my motive? Why did I come up here? Why did I agree to this podcast? Why did I ask you to paint my body? Everything is a motive. If I can't look at that motive and go, okay, that's good. That's wholehearted. We're good there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, because when I was younger, motive was not a question. It was like, what the fuck can I take from you?
Yeah.
How can I get this? How can I get that? How can I And now it's just like, I am okay with everything that I have. I need nothing.
But that's where we were talking earlier before we got on here. I said that I've always used my ego to protect me from other people's motives.
Correct.
Because being young in this, like you get taken advantage of. And even now, like the thing is that like you've, for the last 25 years of my life, I've been in the paint world. The last 20 years of my life, I've been in the motorcycle world. And you've heard every spill. You've heard everybody came in.
Tell me something new.
Yeah. And you see the patterns, you recognize the patterns. They're kind of like, they're kind of baked in the DNA now.
Right.
Like there's a certain word language that you hear from somebody go, "Oh, this dude is trying to fucking hustle me." Or this dude is trying to, belittle me in a way that makes me feel like I need him to help me get to a certain point. And so my ego, for a lot of times, has been a protective layer to not allow older people in this world to take advantage of me or more conniving people to it,
For me, that same protective shield that was ego driven is more driven by when I stop and I look around at what I have and what I've achieved. And if that person can't come to the table with an equal amount, talk to me later.
Yeah.
It's the same way with the motorcycle situation. When there's a lot of cats out there that talk to me when this is your gig. Talk to me when this is your life.
We
Tell
know
me
when you're all in.
Tell me when you're going to lay your balls on the table every single fucking day.
Yeah.
Because your livelihood and the livelihood of your family depends on it. Talk to me then. Everything else, don't have time. And because that's a process thing. It was the same way with the music. When you're a young and up and coming band and you're the first one to get up there, the first of 4, you get no sound check, you get no lights, and you get no PA. Mm-hmm. But you're going to walk in there and act like you own the place, like you are entitled to something. That's when those elders look at you and go, "Hey, fucking punk, you need to earn some fucking respect." And the only way you earn respect is by hours.
Yeah.
Do the work. That's everything. Motorcycles, music.
Well, you're
friendships.
gatekeeping now, Xavier. What's going on with that?
It's because I'm fucking old. No,
Well, that's kind of the problem. Is that like there's lots of these words that I think that when women start listening to podcasts, these words really emerged. So
what?
gaslighting, gatekeeping.
See, there's a lot of those that I hear them like, and I don't even know what they mean. I'm just like, okay.
Right.
Well, the gatekeeping thing is a situation that I think is, and I'm sure that someone has a better a better explanation or definition to it. But essentially, gatekeeping is like just like making it harder for people to come be a part of whatever thing it is. Mm-hmm. But you need. Like that's always been that way. Gatekeeping keeps things pure and like whatever. But then the argument is, well, like you're pure to your standards.
Yeah.
But it's the standards that I grew up with that I'm trying to uphold in this. It's those David Mann paintings.
Yeah.
That I'm not gatekeeping that because anybody can go experience that.
Yeah.
What I'm gatekeeping is you don't deserve to be like admired like that until you've done that.
Damn straight.
Gatekeeping and inclusion go hand in hand. They're in parallel with each other. If you're being inclusionary for everybody, right? Everybody and everything.
Right.
Well, they say like,
they don't understand that, like you said, you lose some purity. There's got to be some sort of guidance.
Well, there's a reason why they call them prospects and hangarounds.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a reason for that. And there's also, I will not withhold any of the knowledge that I have that any of the other guys before me, Billy, Paul, all those guys have taught me. I will not withhold that to anybody who wants it for the right reasons. But here's the problem. When you relay that knowledge and that person goes off and doesn't do the right thing, whether they don't give you props for it or they act like it was theirs and don't come true, don't come correct, then those types of people at some point, and it's a guarantee, that truth will come to pass and it will come to air. And that has happened in the very short time that I've been doing this multiple times. And I just sit back and without getting on my phone and calling them out, I just go, I know what's going to happen because I've seen this movie 100 times in the music world, and I've watched it with other people in the motorcycle world. And I just sit back and I go, let's see what happens.
What happens, or maybe to kind of tie in what we were talking about earlier, is it the person that feels like they just got taken advantage of, they're in that process too of like, okay, am I a failure or am I confident? Like you're always kind of balancing.
The learning point for that, for me, is you're not going to come to my home and cut and break bread with me at my table.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Like I have to prove myself. So do you.
Well, when you got the opportunity to go and learn from Billy, like you had already shown enough interest, did stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you just knocked on the door one day and go, hey, I'm the drummer for Buck Cherry, and you should probably teach me how to build bikes.
The entitlement factor was not there.
Oh, you're not going to do it? This guy's gatekeeping.
Yeah, this guy's gatekeeping.
That's what people do.
Or he's just a dick. Yeah. See, but that's the problem with a lot of what happens in any industry when you have people that are talented that have put in the work. You're certainly not going to show up to fucking Dave Perowitz's shop and act like you think you can spray like him.
Yeah.
So don't think that you can. But see, that's the problem. With these things and everything that goes on in the social media world now, everybody's either a fucking keyboard commando or they're a bike builder or they're a master painter or they're this and that when they haven't put in the work.
Yeah.
I come from a time when shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Just shut up and listen. And if you think you're that fucking great, when you go up against somebody and they look at you and pick out everything that's wrong about your bike, don't get butthurt. Don't get butthurt, because that person is either trying to help you learn something, just like Jeff did with me, or maybe they're trying to put you in your place so that you will find out what you're really made of.
Yeah.
And that person will go, either they're going to back up and go, fuck, I did that was wrong. I'm so fucking sorry. Whatever that is, or they're going to go, and they're going to walk off.
Yeah.
Either way, you now know. And like I said, you never have to have that conversation again.
Yeah, you learned. I remember when I was a kid painting, you know, all my friends, like they see me starting to paint, like, dude, Jace is the best. I'm like, I guess I am. You know, my mom likes it.
Yeah,
My
right.
best friend likes it.
My dad digs it.
And so the first time I go to any kind of place where you're like, you know, whether it's a show or anything, like you get humbled by reality. And you know, it goes back to what we were talking about too, again, is like when you're in a space where everybody is which is gaslighting.
They're
trying to give you everything they want because they need something from you. So it's like you were talking about earlier how, you know, how much did Prince and Michael Jackson, all these people, them passing away, there was nobody.
There was nobody around. Nobody grabbed them by the fucking ears and went, you are gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money you think you are, how many Grammys you have, how many fucking gold records, platinum records, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Because when you're to that level, and I'm sure Billy's had it, and I'm sure all these other fucking people had it, because they do. Everybody has it. When you are in a successful situation of that magnitude, unless you're really, really careful about who you keep around you, or you have one or two people that are in your life that are like, you're going to stay away from my fucking boy because you're bad news, or we're going to have a problem. That's just that simple. You're going to have that issue because, again, you are untouchable in your mind. You can have anything you want, and you have absolutely no accountability till you're dead. And then everybody goes, oh. But where was everybody going, hey, man, we should probably have an intervention, or maybe you should go to a rehab. Yeah. We were talking about it, like Taylor Hawkins. Everybody, they throw this big fucking jam concert at the Forum in LA, and everybody's there and everybody's showing up and they're singing praises to him. Well, where were they fucking when he was on his most vulnerable, like, I don't know how to cure this anymore. Yeah. Where was everybody going, I don't want you to die because I love you?
I hear you on that. That's where, you know, the people that really care about you in your life are the people that tell you what you need to hear.
Oh my God.
Not what you want to hear. And
but it's also, you also got to think that, like, there also is a lot of manipulation in that at times too. Right?
Yeah, so, with that magnitude of success, there's manipulation.
The thing we were talking about, Devin, was like, you know, there's an economy in, we were talking about being a rock star, right? So if he's on tour, there is an economy of people who are making a living. They are paying their whole livelihood as long as he gets on stage every day.
Right. That's right. And again, don't take me out of context. Yeah. I am fucking heartbroken that he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
I am heartbroken, but
I think you're
as somebody who knows that life and what it entails, at least everything behind the stage, not his life because I didn't live his life, but knowing what all of that dressing room activity looks like, it saddens me. And thank God that there was somebody in my band that went, you're going to fucking die. And I don't want you to. Just like you said, I would rather have 3 friends that will not co-sign my bullshit than 500 people in this fucking phone that go, hey man, can I get some tickets? Hey man, because they don't care about me. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. What they care about is what they can achieve and get from you off of your coattails that you've put in the time and the knowledge and the sacrifice to gain. That's the problem. They don't want to put in the work. They want to easily point and click, instant achievement, and here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, Jace. It does, at least from where I come from.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you had to learn how to tune your fucking drums and your guitar and know how to play with guys in a band in a room and sound like shit till you got better.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you punch in a vocal line and they go and the trigger and there's your song.
Yeah.
Now, technology is great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But nothing sounds like a real drum. Nothing sounds like a real singer. Nothing sounds like a real Harley.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And you know what it sounds best on? Vinyl. And that's everything that I do, everything that I can relate to, or anything that I try to do and take in more is all based upon music because that's all I have.
Yeah.
And if I can stay true to a vinyl record, and this is me, this is all you get.
Let me two questions here. Obviously there was like when you've been around motorcycles forever, right? So, but when you had the opportunity to have Billy build you one, things like that, has there ever been a thought of like wanting to be on something more modern, or is the process in which creating a chopper checking more of the boxes for you in the motorcycle space? Like the building,
I think it's the creative aspect because again, I'm a drummer. So sitting in a room with a bunch of guys and then a riff and then this starts and a drum beat and next you know, it becomes a song. My body, once again, back to our age, is going to kick in at some point in time.
Yeah.
And tell me, that's why I sold my Chopper Zinc bike because I rode it from Florida to California when I was 36.
Yeah.
I'm 56. I can't ride like that anymore. I don't want to ride like that because it's painful.
Yeah.
Do I think I will eventually progress to something a little bit more modern? I'm sure, because that would be me being in defiant of trying something new. Now, what scratches my itch now to this day is the creative aspect of sitting and looking at that frame before it was what it was and going, what am I going to do? It is a hunk of junk. It has so much crap on it. I'm going to spend 30 hours taking this off and fixing that and re-welding this and because that's the process.
Yeah.
But all it takes is one finished piece. That's all it takes. And then that thing kicks in, man. I'm like, okay, here we go. Perfect example on that one. I took the forward controls off, the mounts. Well, when I did, it was such a bad weld job that I had to cut into the frame and create a cavity about that long, about that wide. Okay, now I have a big gaping hole in a frame. What am I going to do? Patch it. So as soon as that, I start doing that, okay, I made the slug and and then I metal finished it. And then that's done. I'm like, there's that thing.
Yeah.
It's the first step. And if I wasn't able to do that, I don't know what I would do, dude. Like, because not being in a band anymore and playing every single night, even though those songs were, you know, I was I was having dinner with Joey Kramer from Aerosmith one night in Australia when we were there with him. And I said, Joey, seriously, bro, you've been in Aerosmith as long as I've been alive. Like, do you ever get tired of playing Dream On? And he just looked at me and he said, I don't know, Xavier, do you ever get tired of playing Crazy Bitch? And I went, touche. You're right. But when that creative aspect isn't in me every single night, that adrenaline, that rush of seeing somebody down there singing that song that they didn't pay their fucking cell phone bill to buy a ticket to my show, to our show, so that for an hour and 15 minutes, they could leave whatever was going on in here and just rock the fuck out.
Yeah.
That is no longer my life every night.
Yeah.
So I have to replace that some way, you know. Nikki Sixx once said, you know, I don't do drugs or drink anymore, but I still burn. I've got to figure out a way to quench that burn. And that's what that is. I mean, I literally took the creative aspect of music and 4 dudes and touring for 10 months for 18 years and went, now what?
Yeah.
You know, so when I get to walk in and see that frame with your work on it and what I had 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Dude, that is just like playing a massive show to me because it's all the process. And when I can't wait to get that back to the shop and start to do that thing that we do, man.
Yeah.
It's one more line, one more tape, one more brush, one more little shadow right here. And then you sit back and you look at it and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
It went from an idea to a physical thing. Dude, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And nobody will ever understand that except for the guys that get to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're the lucky ones, you know, as much as of a hassle as it is, as much of a time crunch. When they told me about that deadline, I was like, here we go again. I swore to God last year I was not going to do this again. And here I am.
Yeah. Do you I think I remember you saying something like, not to bring this up in a bad way or anything, but you had said that when you first kind of came into building bikes, that you kind of got a little backlash from.
Oh, dude, it wasn't a little. It was a fuck ton. And the reason is, and I understand now better because when I'm the guy at Sturgis and Daytona and Laconia and this and that, and I watch all of these younger dudes, which they're all younger to me.
Yeah.
They're in their 30s. They're fucking younger than me. They're 20 some odd years younger than me. Whether the fact that they have more welding capability, fabrication, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter because it's where the mindset and the maturity level is at.
Yeah.
I've seen some of them come in and they're so fucking humble and so nice and so sweet the first year. And then they come back when their bike has won all these awards and all this stuff and everybody's sucking their balls. And then next thing you know, they're too cool for school.
Yeah.
And I go, saw that one coming. And then I see the other guys that have perfect execution, perfect placement, perfect this, perfect that. And they don't say a peep, Jace. They just sit in the back and that's the dude I walk over to and I go, that thing's dope, dude.
Yeah.
I got backlash because everybody thought that because Billy Lane is one of my closest friends, I'm godfather to his firstborn. So him and I have passed that point of, because he's a fucking music fan.
Yeah.
If you asked him, he would rather be a guitar player in a rock band than a fucking bike builder. And that's the truth. We talk about this all the time. We just happen to live opposite lives where he was doing the bikes and was huge and all of that. And I was watching all that stuff on the bus. I was doing the rock and roll thing. And when I decided to move out of that and do this, we happened to cross at a perfect time.
Yeah.
When I literally left the band and wanted to just tinker in motorcycles, and then I got asked to build a bike for the In Motion show. And then I got asked to build a bike for Michael Lichter's show. And that bike went on to win Easy Rider Bike of the Year and Builder of the Year, all this stuff. I was in my garage in Lago Vista, 2-car garage. I had no intentions of becoming a builder, a logo, a bank account. Because again, this is a business. Your paintwork is a business. Just like the music is a business. I didn't want any part of it. I just wanted to tinker in motorcycles, learn how to weld a little, learn how to do this. Because Billy in the beginning was like, stop paying people to do for you what you want to learn how to do. Stop paying me. I'm going to send you a welder. You're going to learn on a very archaic old welder, scratch start, and you're going to learn the way that I did. I'm like, okay. Everybody thought that I brought all of the rock star money into this and that I was paying Billy to build my bikes.
Yeah.
And I was paying other people to build stuff for me. And in perfect reality, I was doing the work in my garage at 3 a.m. trying to figure out how to make a spacer.
Yeah.
So the idea that a person could go from one profession that was successful and jump into something else was unheard of. Why would you do that? Why would you leave the music industry when you're so successful at it and you're so good at it? Because it wasn't happy anymore. And just like that, when this stops being fun, if I ever allow it to, because of the people, not because of the motorcycles, just like he said, and it's not the it's not the motorcycles, it's not the paintwork, it's the people.
It's the people.
When I allow that to happen, I will step the fuck out. I'll go work at Lowe's, punch a card, be home by 5:30, have dinner every night. Life is good. And all the money that these people think that I brought into this and I bought all this and I paid these people and I paid that person. And somebody once said that I actually paid Michael Lichter off. Somebody once said that I actually paid Dave Nichols off from Easy Rider.
Yeah.
When I took my bike in a U-Haul trailer and my shitty fucking 2000 4Runner that my dad bought me before I moved to LA that I'm going to drive till the wheels fall off of it because of that.
Yeah.
That I paid them off so that I could win that. So once again, what I did is I sat back, I crossed my arms and I went, okay, you have two options, Xavier. You can backlash, you can fucking engage, and you can, or you can let, like Steven Tyler says, let the music do the talking. Let the motorcycle do the talking. And that's what I've done every single build from then.
Yeah.
I built 12 motorcycles since that first bike in Burbank, California that I built in a one-car garage with nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I built 12. I've sold 11. I have one left. And that's the one that I built for my brother for the High Seas Rally. So when they say that, they don't know. They don't know the real story. All the money that they think is there, I blew.
What I've come to understand about a lot of people in the motorcycle industry, and I'm saying this from a place of like, I definitely have this and struggle with it, is I've never seen a place with more insecure men in my life.
Dude, there is more fucking prima donnas in this business than there ever was. You know the difference between the music world and the fucking motorcycle world? In the music world, if you're talking shit about another band or they're talking shit about you, you're going to see them on tour somewhere. And I've seen it happen because it happened in my band. My guitar player, somebody was talking shit about he walked right up to him at catering in the middle of fucking London, England and went, you ready to do this? We can fucking do this right now.
Yeah.
Because they squash it like a man. In this one, you know, and I'm like, but then when you call him out, Jace, when you walk up to them and you call them out like a man, oh, well, you know, that's not what I meant, bro. That's not what stop backpedaling, dude.
Yeah.
It's right here. And I don't understand that because all the posters on that wall, those were men.
Yeah.
They were fucking men, dude. Like if you had a problem with somebody, you walked up to them and said, we'll do this. Let's squash it. And then we're done. I'll buy you a beer after.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen anymore, man. And I don't know if that's the era that we live in, the age bracket that we have, because there's a lot of younger dudes than us. Mm-hmm. But all the older dudes, they never engage. Like I've had so many conversations with Mondo, with Dave, with Paul about, I need you to tell me what it was really like back then, before all of the technology and before all of the fucking hoopla, and your biggest way of getting your product out was in a magazine. That was it. There was no internet. There was no social media. There was nothing. You had to build something. It go into a magazine. Your number was at the end.
How'd you get it in a magazine? You had to show up places.
Right. You had to show up.
Yeah.
You had to do the work.
The magazine didn't seek you out. You sought the place. You would go to
Absolutely not.
One of the many Easy Rider stops it would do across the country, and that would give you a chance to show off your build so that the magazines would see it, and that's kind of like the first step to start.
I wholeheartedly believe, dude, if I wouldn't have put Grace, after she was built for Lichter's thing, in the Easy Rider Expo that came to Austin, the last year that it, remember?
Yeah, remember
you were there.
Yeah.
I had that one, and I had my black shovel, Patience. And then that one, Best of Show, and and they were going to give me a $600 voucher if I went to South Carolina to retrieve it, which was the finals.
Yeah.
I remember going, I'm not going. I'm not going to take my bike all the way to South Carolina. There's no need. There's going to be so many other bikes. I'm never going to win. I'm cool with this. I've got Best of Show. I can go home. I can check the box. Well, somebody said, you're a fucking idiot if you don't go. You're a fucking idiot. And I went, why? It won here. Who cares if you don't win? Collect the money, pay the gas, pay the hotel, and come home. Because at least you can say you followed through and you did it. And I went, once again, what's my motive? Am I going there to former rock star. Look at me, he's my bike. And I went, no, that person was right. My Toyota 4Runner, a U-Haul trailer, the little teeny one, Grace fit perfectly in there. Put it in there, went there, set it up. I didn't have this lavish display with all these mirrors and all this stuff. It was a little black velvet rug with red trim and the little sign that I had a buddy made. And that was it. And I walked around and then it won.
Yeah.
And a lictor came over to me. He was like, did you hear your name? And I go, no, I was talking to a friend of mine. Your bike just won. And I go, won what? He's like, Easy Rider Bike of the Year. And I go, fuck you. Come on, man. He's like, and I look over and they're all standing there on stage going like this. They're like, and Dave's like, Xavier, what the fuck? I'm like, the first call I made, well, the second call, I'm driving home. I'd loaded it up and they made a bitchin' trophy, dude. And I'm sitting there with this trophy on my front seat and I called Billy. And I go, dude, you're not going to believe this. He's like, what? I go, I just won Easy Rider Bike of the Year. He goes, wow. He goes, congratulations, mijo. That's great. He goes, now get to work. And I go, what are you talking about? He's like, what's next? That's literally what he said. And he hung up on me. And I went, oh, okay. But once again, I had to have somebody behind me do
What's
the work.
next is a very important statement, though.
You're only as good as your last hit single.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last build.
If you try to ride that wave for 2 years.
And that's what a lot of people do today. Yeah. They put out 1 or 2 bikes and they're like, hey, this is it. And I'm like, because I was taught after the first record, yeah, that's great. You crazy bitch and sorry. Oh, let's go. What's next?
Yeah.
Because that record company doesn't care. Yeah. They want to see that money coming in.
Keep that machine rolling.
That's right. The machine. A slave to the machine. That's where the song came, Slave to the Grind. Yep. So in that mentality that I've been taught by the musical situation was like even this one, dude, seeing her, I'm like, I'm already on to the next CFL and FXR that has for two customers. Yeah. I'm already there because once you make that record and they finally put it down and oh, here it is. And you hear the final mixes and then you see the packaging and you're like, there's this, what we used to call post-load depression.
Post-load.
PLD. That's what we called it. You'd be like, oh man, you got the record. Look how cool it is. And you open it up and it's thanks to my mom and my dad and Sabian cymbals and Yamaha and da-da-da. And then you put it down and you're like,
now what?
Now what?
Yeah.
And I love that because once again, I have to go all the way back to the beginning. The first creative spark. What's the next spark? And then when that one happens and the next one and the next one and the next one over, wash, rinse, repeat.
Well, with you pretty much having a career or a job in motorcycling, right? I think that when it gave you the confidence to be able to step away from music that you would have something to do, right?
Yeah.
If you think about how many athletes that have
once again, paint, podcast, everything that you do. I'm so fortunate. We're so fortunate that when I stepped away from that, the only other thing I love besides making music, and I mean love, is motorcycles, period. Whether it was this, because there was a point in time where Billy wanted me to come work for him. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want you to be that guy. I just want to be in the back. And I'm like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But those guys, those bands that are just out there because either that's what they really want to do or that's the only thing they know how to do. There's a big, big, big difference. The fact that you and I have multiple situations and most of the other guys that I know, that's huge, dude, because we can actually, like I said, when I get sick of welding, because probably I can't weld something at that moment, I'm like, I go play drums. And I forget about that. It's easy. When I step away from a situation that is just, even with relationships and friends, when I step away, I can actually just, I don't have a knee-jerk reaction. I try not to think emotionally. Mm-hmm. I try to think rationally and be like, okay, what is that person feeling? Mm-hmm.
What I try to do too a lot, this doesn't work when I'm drinking, but when
it usually does.
this self-talk thing, I always try to just think about what I cause. Like what is the me factor in every situation?
Absolutely.
Not to take blame for everything.
Right. No, but what's my part?
Yes.
Because if you're having a conversation or a relationship with somebody, anything you do, you have a part in it.
Yeah.
I have. He does. That's just the way that is. So when something like that goes fucking south, dude, and I've had to swallow fucking crow many times and just be like, you know what? That was fucked up. I did not take into account how you feel, how that made you feel. And I'm sorry. And I will do the best of my ability to never let that happen again. But I live by one thing. I bow to no man. But I also create healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
There's that balance. And that's difficult.
It's like boundaries is a word that you really learn over 35.
Yeah, no, yeah. Because when you're like in your 20s, you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, boundaries, perspective, intention, those things all become more important.
Integrity.
The older
integrity,
you get,
Integrity, yeah.
Integrity is honestly, and this is once again my perspective, integrity is the one thing that I think is my biggest asset and my biggest deterrent.
Absolutely. Because some people will view your integrity as a bad thing.
Yeah. It gets in the way of like opportunity.
Of course. Because you're not willing to fucking sell yourself short. Yeah. You're not willing to give up. You're not willing to sacrifice what you truly, wholeheartedly, fuck everything else around you, believe in for the betterment of something that.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you might as well sell your soul to the devil or just kind of stop being who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not why you're here. That's not why at your age you've learned what you've learned.
And I think you can attest to this as well, but like I think about everything I do as in, maybe it's good here, but I always want to be able to go be in a room with you or Mark, or if one day when I get to meet Billy Lane, and be like, yo, like what you do is cool. Like I want to have that nod of approval from the elders.
Sure.
As much as I want to be able to be a pioneer of things. You know what I'm saying?
That is, again, balance. You want to be able to have a nod of the hat from the cats that you've looked up to.
Yeah.
But yet the ones that are coming up, you want to be able to try to keep them from the mistakes that you made if they're willing to listen. That's the whole thing. You cannot teach anybody that is not willing to listen. Anybody that comes at you and they think they know it all, well, what do you need me for?
Yeah.
You've got it all. You don't need me.
You just wanted me to know who you are.
Yeah, right. You want, that's great, kid. Perfect example. Once again, Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper once said it. Yes, I get it, kid. You're angry. You hate the world. Your music is aggression. You hate your parents. Where's the song?
Yeah.
Show me the song. And I love that because it's as simple as I want respect from the elders.
Yeah.
But I have to earn that and I have to show it back. But in the same sense, when little Johnny comes around and goes, hey, Xavier, why do you play Yamaha when everybody plays DW? Well, Johnny, because I believe in this product, not because they give it to me for free, because I believe in it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. That's integrity. I will not... Trust me, younger, I sold my shit out left and right.
Yeah.
I hung myself out to dry many times. And it wasn't until somebody came over and said,
why didn't like rock stars ever have like condom sponsors or something like that? That'd be like a good...
because they don't use them anyway.
I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
Real big at that point.
Yeah. Like the condom thing that had been, that's really, we'll make balloons because we don't use them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like...
Somebody once asked me...
What are you doing, loser?
Yeah, somebody once asked me, they're like, well, how come you don't ever play electronic drums?
Get AIDS like an adult.
Yeah, and I went, have you ever fucked with a condom? He's like, yeah, I hate that. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like,
you don't
what?
get the feedback.
Yeah, I need to feel it. I've got to, no, fuck
electronic
that,
drums or condoms. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
But that's just me.
Well, I think that on that same like kind of topic, before I made the condom joke, kind of lost my train of thought there. The building aspect, physically building bikes. We were kind of talking about this earlier. That level of customization, I feel like that feeling you get that I know that that I've felt in certain builds I've had in my life. You kind of for a lot of people, they get that kind of feeling through social media now. Maybe it's
absolutely.
a good reel or a
Yeah.
post or whatever. And so like you start chasing the easier obtainable thing.
The easier, softer way.
And I feel like what kind of drives me nuts, and Devin and I talk about this a lot, because Devin's a big push to get me to not throw away the integrity, but to be like, hey, you need to make reels. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I just like, man, when I'm in it and I'm working on this, I'm airbrushing or drawing or whatever, I'm not thinking about, hey guys, just wanted to let you in on this very, intimate thing that I do that I kind of am now not thinking about anymore. I'm thinking about how I'm sounding to you right now.
And how I'm looking. Wait, is the camera? Dude,
it's a double-edged sword for him, because he wants to fall. He's in a competitive industry.
Absolutely.
He wants to be able to connect with these people and continue to grow the
yeah,
brand.
yeah.
But how do you do that authentically in a new generation where social media is pushing reels and the short form content? So you got to figure out a way to do that, but still have it be authentic.
Well, let me tell you both this.
Okay.
Understood. What happened when you made your post, now accepting paintwork?
Yeah.
Who called you?
You.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of other people.
Yeah.
That's what says it.
Yeah.
Now, in the world that we live in nowadays, absolutely, there is justification in that train of thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I always like, even, and I get this all the time as well. Why don't you post more? How come you don't post more? You know why? Because I'm fucking working. I don't have time to stop and grab a camera. And I wish I could, but I'm a one-man gig. You saw it.
Yeah.
You saw my shop. Now, to this day, I still go back to when cassette tapes were big. And that's how you got your market out. That is how you made your connections in the industry as well as to other musicians. Now, things have changed. But once again, with the advance of technology, you still have to remain organic. In my opinion, the way that I do things. Because I see a lot of guys out there. I see a lot of people posting, male, female, musicians. Dude, let's flip-flop.
Yeah.
All those guys out there that are constantly making videos of themselves playing, like, how do you fuck to that? No girl is gonna, you know what I'm saying? There's no beat. Anyway, right. That's another tangent.
Yeah.
But there has to be balance.
Yeah.
When I have a company like Baker that asks me to promo one of their products because they think I have something to offer, whatever community follows me, which is very small compared to somebody like you or some of the other guys that are bigger than me, there's something about that whatever I'm doing with the motive has to be genuine. If it's not genuine, I can't do it, because I lived so long in a fake ass fucking world that it saturated me, and I hated that feeling.
But that's what I feel like the motorcycle world's becoming, is a fake world.
It is.
That's why, like, you just made that comment that, like, I aspire to do what you know how to do. So, like, I don't, the social media follower game is like the biggest lie to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I get it. It's a social credit score. Essentially.
It is a necessary evil.
It is.
Fortunately, for the people that don't give a shit, because they already have a situation where their stability is already there.
Yeah.
Those true people will outlast all of that shit, dude, because it's just like bands. It is a fly-by-the-night situation. Now, it may be a year or two, maybe 3 years, but at some point in time, that falseness, that lack of substance, that lack of truth, of honesty, of organicness will go away. Why? Because they have nothing else.
Yeah.
They have nothing else to stand on. There's no foundation.
Yeah.
There is no
It's a
foundation.
gimmick rather than
Full on.
solid or
Yeah.
You understand this world just the same way that I've tried to talk about in this podcast. In 2004, when you went to Sturgis or any of these things, you were like, oh, babe, we got to stop by the Broken Spoke or whatever Iron Horse, Billy's bikes there. I want to see it in person. I saw it in a magazine. He's there. I want to meet him. I want to there was an idolization of these builders, right? Indian Larry, Paul Cox, all these guys. And then you fast forward now and it's all YouTubers. Oh, we got to go to Thunderdome because Cruzy's there. My boy, good friend of mine. I'm just using him as an example. We got to go here because it's the influencer meetup that we're going to do a ride and film and do this. It's like, I'm not hating that exists.
Yeah.
But where do custom motorcycles live in the world where everybody just wants to be a content creator and not an actual bike builder?
I believe by the product sitting on a concrete slab somewhere that somebody walks up and goes, "Who built that bike?"
Oh, I did on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
But
but
you can follow along.
But yeah, but more
Like, comment,
yeah, more about the product
Yeah.
and the person behind it. Because at some point in time, dude, all of this is going to go away.
Oh, yeah.
It's all going to find its way to the shallow end of the pool. And then what? You know, so
I just hope that the custom motorcycle world does not find its demise, or it's like, it's bankrupt while, and this might be a dig, I don't mean it as one.
Yeah.
While the guys that kind of invented it are still alive.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, and it's not a dig. The thing is much like rock and roll will never die, period, if there are younger people that start listening to it. The motorcycle community, the custom aspect community, or the custom aspect of that will never die as long as there's younger cats coming into it. Now, out of the 500 that show up and 490 of them are fucking shitbags, there's going to be 10 that rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And that's all we need.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys that are well-known people in, I guess, the more modern era of custom motorcycles, you know, your FXRs, Dynas,
Sure.
performance stuff, your Boosted Brads,
Yeah.
Speed Dealers, you know, Jason. A lot of these dudes were products of the chopper dogs, the things that took place in the early 2000s.
Yeah, totally. Like, I never knew about a lot of that stuff because, again, I was on a bus. I was only watching what was on TV. It wasn't until I did this. But the thing about like the thing about the whole the custom world, if you will, which is very blurry now.
Yeah.
It's a very blurred line. Back in the day, you knew a custom.
Yeah.
You knew a stock HD. You know an HD that had a couple of bolt-on things, but you knew what a custom was.
Yeah.
That has blurred out substantially. So when the guys who are doing it, with you having the eye that you do, when you walk up on it and you look at it, I've never seen this bike. This is pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
And you don't know the cat, that's one more person that's trying to keep it alive. But again, if the people that are involved are gaslighting everybody else, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem. Because from what I remember, custom choppers and that whole culture was ingrained and built upon defiance. It was built upon doing your thing. It was built upon not wanting to conform.
All right. Random thought just popped in my head. Similar to how we talked about the economy of the people who needed you on stage, that gave them a career, right? Not to diminish anybody's accolades or accomplishments of the early 2000s, but when you had magazines, TV producers, writers, books, anyway, everybody else trying to find you or Billy Lane or not yet, just a bike builder, because their career was to make something off of that.
That's right.
So you had
Chasing the almighty dollar.
Yeah, you had all these things that brought, Motorcycle Mania was Jesse James and he was the creator behind it, but he also needed some outside entity to come in to allow that to be a thing.
Correct.
Which then opened the door for Biker Build Off and all these other things,
Right.
which then having an already established thing like Easy Rider magazine, now that blows up. Now there's 40 fucking magazines for choppers, right?
Because it becomes the cookie cutter syndrome.
Yeah.
When a band that looks like Motley Crue and they find 5 other bands that looks like Motley Crue across the country, what do? They sign them all and they shelf them. Why? So that they can place all the money into Motley Crue, and these are no longer a threat. The opposite happens with that. The market becomes oversaturated by every fucking bike builder who owns a Craftsman set of tools and a compressor and thinks that he's as good or better than the guy that's on TV. Now, the ones that sat back and did the work and learned, they rose to the occasion. And all of those, dude, I have 5 stacks of Easy Rider magazines that I just purchased off of eBay. And every one of them that I look through, there's bike guys, builders, companies that I never even heard of. And where are they at? They're gone. Why? Because of that simple fact that it oversaturates the market. A company finds out how to expose, and use you to create a flow of money for them, not for you. Billy never made any money off of fucking biker build-offs.
Yeah, exactly.
He made money off his merch. And I can say that because he's told me that 100 times. The thing is that you take something that's cool, dude. You take something that's beautiful and pure and organic, and then you manipulate it and you contort it and you figure out how to squeeze every fucking last cent that you can from it. And here come all the copycats. Here come all the copycats. Here come all the copycats. You don't even know how many guys other painters are copying you that will never, ever, ever give you the respect of like, man, I learned this from Jace, or this was something that I took from Jace because I loved it. Yeah. That's what happens now. Nobody does that. But the world that we live in now, it has gotten so out of control, there's no way to reel it back in. It's never going to happen.
So my arguments is never about how do we go back to that. It's how do we find a way to keep this alive?
Right. That's the question. That's what everybody's asking. You know, I didn't get into this to become a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
Because Billy was the first one. Don't do this if you think you're going to make money, because you're not. Yeah. If you can sell motorcycles that you build to customers and keep your lights on and keep your family fed, you're doing great. You're doing great. And I've been able to do that since I left. But it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always looking for the next build to get better at what I do. I don't advertise. I don't do any of that stuff, dude. This is probably the biggest advertising I'll do for the last 3 or 4 years. Or probably since the last time I sat with you.
Yeah.
Because in my heart of hearts, just like the music, I had to get out there and play every shitty dive bar for the first 2.5 years before I played a decent venue.
Yeah.
I have to do the work now. And if that means that I'm a very small granule of sand on the beach of a custom industry that is trying to keep it alive, I'm okay with that.
When I did the podcast with Rick Fairless about a year ago, I was kind of already in this path or wavelength. But when I found out that he bought into the Easy Rider franchise and kind of essentially started Strokers Dallas at the age I am now and the life he's had since I've known the man,
right?
It lit a fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I'm not too old to really chase this.
Absolutely.
Passion.
Absolutely.
I mean, but to be fair, like my world, I'm in this, it's definitely not a purgatory, but it's definitely like this place between the old guard and the young.
New guard. Yeah.
And to where it's like, I'm really the generation that's getting skipped over in some aspects. And I'm not saying that to be like, woe is me. I'm just saying that there's guys coming up that are doing the YouTube stuff that are gaining a lot of market share, which rightfully so. If it's good, it's good. You can't deny it, right?
Right.
But then there's like, okay, well, how does this work for the motorcycle industry? Like, how do you piece? Why do I care? Right. I have no fucking idea why. I don't know why.
I think probably because there's some genuine concern about the future of all of this.
Yeah.
Media, paint, motorcycles, just the culture, the everything, dude.
If the media, if things like podcasts, if Chris Callen's show, if was it Greasing Gears TV, if those kind of things go away and all that's left is just YouTuber reviews on everything that exists, then where is
right?
I mean, not to say that they're all have no integrity,
sure,
but there, if I was to play the YouTube game the way most people do, then there would be a different helmet on the shelf every month. There would be a different headset on the shelf every month.
Now we're back to the oversaturation, cookie cutter mentality of what has happened with the biker build-offs, the music, the motorcycles, the music, at some point in time, that plateaus, Jason. I feel that. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It plateaus. And then the ones who have actually have the sustaining power will stay there. Everything else will fall away, just like every one of those other situations that it's a cookie cutter, fly by night. That's the thing about any that I feel, once again, that has anything to do with a creative thing. Paint, motorcycles, glass blowing, music, it doesn't matter. Anything that's creative, it gets oversaturated. It gets over published. It gets over produced. It gets over modified, homogenized. And then after a while, all that shit starts to fade off and fall off because there's no sustaining power. Then the original nucleus is always there.
That's kind of what happened with Big Wheel Baggers. You know,
Right.
It was kind of cool at first, and then it turned into like some clown shit.
Right. And the thing is now is, okay, well, did anybody want an FXR 15 years ago? No. Did anybody want a shovelhead 20 years ago? No. Everything happens in cycles. Again, to me, just sitting back, it's always a cycle situation. Music, motorcycles, fashion,
Yeah.
all of it, dude. And 30 years ago, nobody wanted a 1938 fucking knucklehead. Nobody could give a shit. You can find one for $2,500 titled Running.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
same way with guitars, drums, cars, your van.
Yeah.
That's just a cycle of what happens. But when everything gets thrown in it and everybody starts doing it and copying and copying and copying and copying, all of the copies start to melt away, and hopefully the OGs are still there. So let's take that. How many OGs are left from that period? Billy, Jesse, Sugar Bear,
Mondo?
Yaffe, Mondo, Perowitz, that are active today.
Yeah.
There's still a whole bunch of guys out there that
That exists.
call Paul Cox.
Yeah.
There's still a whole bunch of guys from that era that still exist and do what they do, but they're not as active in either the social media platform, but every once in a while you'll hear from them. So they haven't gone away. They're just not, hey, look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah. It is a double-edged sword of trying to figure out how to exist in both realms. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
And unfortunately, we have that. You can look at it as a curse or a blessing. How to figure out how to manage and balance that world with things that we don't even like about that world.
Well, the benefit is, like, instead of us having to go across the country and put our bike in the Easy Rider show to get discovered by the magazine to hopefully be on a TV show, now we have the ability to make our own TV show, put our own essential digital magazine out through social media, through YouTube, through all these things. But then there was the one thing missing from that whole thing is that there was a validation from that entity picking you
Right.
that created a hierarchy
Right.
in society.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And now that doesn't exist anymore. And there is no level to obtain other than a follower review count.
Right.
So
It's no longer about doing the work. It's about using your thumbs
exactly.
for most people. I don't subscribe to that because I'm older and that's not how my father taught me. And everything that I've learned up until this very moment tells me otherwise.
Yeah.
I have nothing to prove to anybody, but I don't rest on any laurel. There's that balance again of like, got it. What's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Essentially, and we're probably, how long are we in right now?
153.
That's it? Oh, shit.
Damn.
Feels longer.
Dude, we
But-
do this all day.
The other thing I wanted to kind of get into is like, you know, like your progression into doing some FXR stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and the swing arm, which is sick.
Dude, we could stop. Okay. First of all, I hated FXRs.
Yeah.
I hated them. I never liked the bike, ever at all. But I could care less. And all you guys were running around. And when I was here at your shop a while back with Mark, and then I think once with Jason, and all you guys were talking about it because I'm not from that world.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not even really from the chopper world. I'm just a guy who loves motorcycles, but I prefer choppers. And then I rode one. And once again, I have another saying that I live by, which is contempt prior to investigation.
Explain that.
Contempt prior to investigation, which means I'm not going to try the cup of coffee because it just, no. Have you tried it? You don't know, right? Contempt prior to investigation. Mark Matthews, hey man, let's go to lunch one day when we were at the shop together. Oh, dude, you know, I got my bike. He goes, oh, just jump on the FXR. And I'm like, ugh. T-bars really high, fucking 35 feet off the ground, you know. And we go the back way through Marble Falls to a cool little lunch spot. Got off the bike and went, I get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? I go, I get it. And he said, about what? And I said, about this motorcycle. I get why you guys love this motorcycle now. And he goes, oh, really? That's what started the whole process of that bike that I brought from Florida, unloaded it at the shop that I got from Hallman. And Mark went, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
It was the ugliest, looked like it'd come off of the bottom of the Atlantic. So again, that was not for anybody. That was just for me. Like, okay, Xavier, how good do you think you really are? Let's see. And when I started to take the bike apart, I knew what I wanted in my head. I had no idea how to achieve it at all, Jace. Because I'd never worked on an FXR chassis, ever. But I knew I wanted a pro street look. I wanted something that you would have picked up an Easy Rider back in the day and Don Hotop would have done it.
Yeah.
Long, low, sleek, maybe not an aggressive rider, but just fucking cool. And that's where it began. And again, this was not a timeline build. It wasn't for anybody other than me. So that was when Rick Bray was here doing the ROT rally when they had it out at Coda. So we finished up the day and I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. I go, let's go chop up that FXR frame. Okay. That's how that happened. Literally went to the shop, chopped the neck, did the thing, stretched it, braked it, welded it. There it was.
Damn.
That was it, Jay. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
And then one thing leads to another. That spark, like I told you, that spark. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to buy side panels. I'm going to make my own. I don't want to fucking make a side panel, but I figured it out. Had Rick Bray help me with the tank. He made the tank for me. We made blisters on the top with stainless steel blisters, matching side, made a fender. And then I looked at the swing arm, like, I don't want to put a stock swing arm on here. I just don't. Yeah. So I got the Fab Kevin kit and I put that on and I loved it, which allowed me to bring it down, lengthen it out. I went to 38 degrees of rake in the neck, didn't use trees in the neck. And I remember looking at all those fucking bitchin' swing arms, dude. They were so I didn't have that kind of money. I just didn't have that kind of money. And the shop was just starting out, dude. I hadn't been in my own spot for maybe about a year and a half.
Yeah.
I had nothing. And again, let's go back to that Rockstar money. It doesn't exist. Yes, I get royalties from my records, but a lot of that money I blew because I was an idiot, because I was young and stupid and
you said you were able to build the shop because you sold one of the bikes.
Because I sold Grace, the one that won 2019 Easy Rider Bike of the Year. He came up to me at the prior year and said, I'm going to buy this bike. And I went, okay. And I took a napkin and I wrote the number down and I gave it to him. And he said, okay. And he gave it to his wife and his wife talked to me and I was like, hold on. I walked around the corner and I called Billy and I said, Billy, dude, there's a guy here that wants to buy Grace. He goes, well, did you tell him the number? And I said, yeah. He said, did he agree to it? And I said, yeah. He goes, sell it. You have to build to sell and sell to build at this point in time in your life. You can't hold on to everything. And I went, okay. That went on. Now I had the swing arm. I'm like, can't afford that. And I want that, but I can't. I'm like, well, what can I do? So I just did what he taught me. Drill some holes, make some speed holes. But I didn't have a millet then. And the flat parts are easy. It's that curve. The curve is indented. So I literally had to drill each one of those as a pilot hole by hand. And then I put it on that shitty Craftsman. Yeah. And and the first one I drilled was awful because it was all wrong. And then I made plugs and slugged it and welded it and massaged it and sent it off to Chrome. And then Paul Yaffe, I had made a couple of posts, and Paul saw that and said, he called me and he said, hey, you need to bring that bike to Arizona Bike Week. And I'm like, or the FXR Friends Throwdown. I'm like, so here we go again. Paul Yaffe, Brian Clock, Dave Perrow, all these major players, they're all hamsters. And they want me to bring my FXR. Well, I was going there anyways because of the High Seas Rally. And I said, well, I'll go early. Anyways, long story short, that bike went and won the 2022 FXR Throwdown.
Yeah.
With all those other FXRs that didn't look anything like mine because they all had a certain, and that's cool. A buddy of mine, Dan Toast from Toast Performance, saw that following Daytona, saw it in Daytona in March before April AZ Bike Week, and was like, dude, what is this? And I go, it's a swing arm. He goes, well, where'd you get it? I go, I made it. And Mark saw it. And Mark was like, dude, that thing's fucking dope. You got to, and I'm like, come on, man. First of all, I'm not an FXR guy. Second of all, I have no desire to get into the parts business.
Yeah.
Well, one after the other, we had a prototype in like a year and a half. And then actually July of last year, it's finalized. Millhouse wanted one. Jason Hallman wanted one. Jesse Boynton from one of the stunt rider groups in New York wanted one. Yeah. And we gave him that one specifically because I was like, you need to break this. You need to figure out what is wrong with this thing. And he called Dan and I on a conference call about 6 months later and said, I've done everything I could possibly think. He goes, the biggest thing about stunt riders is they're always breaking axle blocks constantly. He goes, yours is it's perfect. And I go, okay. So then that went, all right, here's that pivotal point. Do I want to make them a limited edition? Yeah. Do I want to make them as expensive as everybody else's, or do I want to make it attainable for the working guy? And again, this is a business. I don't know anything about that. I'm not that good. I don't have enough knowledge or experience. So I called Bill and he's like, okay, if you're asking me, this is what I suggest. And they went into production, and now that swing arm that I made as the mother is the invention of, or the necessity is the mother of invention, that's how that sparked that. And it's gotten a lot of great reviews, but we haven't really pushed it because we're not there yet, Yeah. But in 25, there's a whole new marketing thing that's going on, another website, But I told Dan, I said, listen, I don't give a fuck about anything other than one thing. Because I remember being the guy who can't afford that swing arm. And I want that swing arm. I said, so whatever we need to do, if we need to make a limited run and be done with it at X amount of cost, we're good. And we agreed upon it. And I think we've got like 18 or 25 of them out there floating now. So still a slow start. But again, we're not doing that thing. Hey.
Well, that's what's cool. I think that there's, once again, whether it's the devil and the angel or whatnot, there's a part of me that absolutely loves the idea of limited, because that's where value is created in.
Right. Well, because it doesn't become oversaturated.
That's where the value of something over what it costs on the shelf becomes. Right. If Jesse James would have kept making all of his parts throughout all of time,
right,
or if he would have sold it to another person, so
the chopper fucker CFL axle plates wouldn't be worth $3,500 like they are today. Right. So with that mindset, when we decided to go, I said, listen, I don't want to make it unobtainium for the normal dude. Yeah. And I don't want to seem like a guy who's jumping on the FXR bandwagon, because I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I'll build it, even that's FXR style, but it's a voice. Yeah. But it's cool when your buddies call you up and go, hey man, I really want one of your swing arms. And Dan was the first one to say, the biggest testimonial for a product is to have as many of your buddies running around on it, even if we have to come in and losing. Yeah. Because when Millhouse ran around Sturgis last year for 1,400 miles on that FXR, and not one thing went wrong with it. That's what I want. It ain't about the money, and it ain't about, oh, so many guys are running around on my FXR. No, it's like the guy, like that's why I have your paint, because I believe in it. If I didn't, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Well,
those kind of, like I said, that's the, realistically this day and age, if you want to have, I mean, a business, you almost need to sell something,
Sure.
or you got to make enough money selling your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
essentially.
And once again, people come to you for a product.
Yeah.
And people come to me for a product, and I'm done with 25. My 25 is done. I'm booked, just like you said, I'm all booked up with helmets. I'm all booked up with paint. So am I. So the proof in the pudding for me is the fact that there are people, and it freaks me out every once in a while, there are people that are willing to give me money to create something for them with them.
Yeah.
That I do for a living. This is how I pay my bills. And
having to create something for a living, I think, doesn't get enough airplay. Like every day you wake up and you go to do your job, you have to take all the knowledge and experience and skills that you've acquired over your life and create a new thing in the vein of the last thing you built, but different, but the same, but a new version.
Because then that's why they call it custom.
Yes.
Like the customer that I have right now saw one of my choppers in Sturgis and said, I want that tank. And I said, well, I can't do that.
If Harley would just hire me so that I can just design 4 paint jobs a year,
dude,
which I'll be honest with you, they could probably use the help right now.
Yeah, they probably, they could use the help.
I'm like, my job is to be the ambassador of of that. Like, that's easy. Like, I got to paint fucking 25 helmets a year and X amount of bikes. And
here's the deal. They can't all look the same.
Exactly.
They can't look the same, and he's got to deliver on each one because there's
Hello.
a expectation.
That's right.
So that's
right.
That's the hard part about it, is like, once your style, like having a style, like this is a good parallel. Music.
Yeah.
And how, as a guy who's old now, older, I use Deftones because
which I love.
Their sound.
Yeah.
They have a lot of different, they've gone to, there's a chart where it's like, you want it mellow, go this way. You want it fucking punk, go this way. You want it more electronic, go this way.
Yep.
So as you grow and evolve, your own taste involved.
Absolutely.
And
because you're ever changing.
Exactly.
So how do you, this is a good one. How do you retain the thread, which is what we called it, in your audio sound that keeps you relevant
to your audience,
which is ever growing.
Yeah.
Everybody
Everybody finds you at different times.
Right. All the while not breaking up because one guy wants to go more synth, one guy wants to go more metal, as well as having a product on time, as well as staying true to yourself. That's a lot of fucking variables to the equation, my friend.
Yeah.
So with that being said, on the musical side,
while there's whole industries that are designed
ever changing
to actually critique and give their
uneducated opinion, because if they had a real educated opinion, they'd be doing it, not talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the motorcycle or the creative world, how do you keep that thread by not jumping to the next bandwagon, keeping your customer base, delivering a product on time, but also pushing the envelope on what you can do?
While staying what you feel like true to yourself.
That's right. The one thing that I can say, Jace, about all of my bikes is I've never built the same bike twice.
Yeah.
I've done Softails, FXRs, choppers, long bikes, you name it. And that wasn't by choice. That was just because I was like, oh, there's a really good deal on this Softail.
Yeah.
I can buy it. Now I'm going to French in the whole ass section like Eddie Chata would do. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Let's just bend
There's
some
a challenge attached to
figure
everybody.
it out, Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing about it. But I truly believe if you stay true to yourself, whatever it is that you're doing, And you can honestly look at yourself in the mirror every morning, and when you go to bed at night, put your head down on your pillow. If you can stay true to yourself, whatever the talents that you have, from whatever power you believe in, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever it is, that were given to you, if you stay true with that, that other world will find you. It will automatically gravitate to you because of what you put out.
Yeah.
Your paint consistently gets you more work. For some reason, I build something, another guy comes, that bike sells.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. And again, what I try every day to really do is to not question it.
Yeah.
Because I will beat it to death. I will overanalyze. I will overthink. And then I have to go back to what Gene Simmons always said, which I don't like. Keep it simple, stupid. That's it.
Yeah, that's
And it's hard, dude, because that is an exact opposite of what the creative aspect is pushing you to do. So once again, how do we find that balance between pushing the envelope to create something better, but also knowing the role and trying to keep it?
Yeah, I feel like the theme of this podcast is when you get older, the only thing when you're young, the only thing in the way is the world. When you get older, the only thing in the way is you.
Absolutely. and you can encompass it all by balance is the key.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like to each individual, balance is the key, you know?
Yeah. And that's, you kind of said something earlier about like, when I took that long trip, and, it's a dream for a lot of people, but it was an understanding to an idea that I got the chance to experience an idea that I had. And what I found in that was like a realigning of my goals and values, if you will.
Of course, your values, because when you're out there for X amount of weeks, you realized how much you miss your family.
Yeah.
You realized how much you miss this. You realize how much of you miss the things that you've blood, sweat, and tears have created and attained while you're out there. It's the same thing of being on a bus. But oh yeah, it's great. And that's great, dude. But I really miss that.
Yeah.
A part of me is there.
I remember when he came back from his trip, that was one thing that he said right away. Like, he missed his family and he really wanted to paint.
Right. Yeah.
Because he went away from that. But I also think for him on his trip, he had this agenda that he wanted.
Of course.
On his trip. Like, I want to do these photos for this purpose, and it.
There was a preset. There was a preset commitment by him.
Yeah.
By him. So the expectations were already there. Yeah. Nobody was telling him out on the road, "Hey, I need you to tick, 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 tick." No, it was like, I need to do. The checklist was like this. It was a fucking scroll.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So that's the work aspect. The writing is when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the writing is when you're not thinking of any of that. It's not till you're alone
100%
in your hotel room going, man, I miss my wife. I miss my bed. I miss my dogs, my cats, my kids.
Yeah.
And then you go, wait, that thing that I love to do, I miss that.
Yeah.
And when that goes away, then we have problems.
Yeah.
And if it goes away for the right reasons, okay. A choosing of ourselves to not do that anymore. But when it gets contorted and messed up by everything else that's around you.
I think you touched on a good thing for Jace also is, he goes through waves where he wants to paint, right? And then there's times where he just wants to, because he's an ambassador for the culture as much as he is the industry.
Yeah, yeah.
Then he wants to ride, he wants to be at things, and he wants to interact with people to kind of keep stoking that flame that keeps him going.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to the purpose where he wants to do photography and he wants to do video and he wants to make content because that's what helps build the community.
Of course,
and bring people
of course.
that aren't necessarily just people he can see at an event.
Yeah. And
so he does that for a little bit, and then he comes
Right.
back full circle, and then he wants to paint again, and he can't. And
I get broke.
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta paint again.
Yeah, like, hey man, I gotta build a bike because that one.
Not to make this about me or anything, but like the one thing that I wish that I can do it once a year And because I now rely on some of the aspects of the income of the podcast,
Yeah.
I wish I could disappear once a year to just like
Yeah.
no social media, no podcasts, no.
Here's the thing about that, dude, and it's always easier said than done. But taking on a role at my age where I did very little to make a lot of money, to doing a ton and not making anywhere near it. Like I did it the wrong way. I chose to do standing on my feet for 14 hours a day at 50 years old as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
But what I found is that as I've gotten older, I'm my boss. So when I get to that point where this thing starts to really get squirrely and I feel that way, I do it. And it doesn't have to be for a week. It's just like, you know what? I don't want to be here right now. I don't feel this. So I'm not going to try and force it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go sit behind my drum set, or I'm going to go in my office and do nothing for a little while. Or I'm going to go home and go,
You know what I do?
I'm going to clean that garage like I've been wanting to do for a month. You know?
That's exactly what I do. Is
Yeah.
I come in here and I'm like, man, I'm just not ready to start on that, and I'll sweep the fuck out of this
Yeah.
place all day long, just so that like I feel like I'm not cheating myself out of
Correct.
a day.
Well, you're
least I'm
doing
doing
you're doing something.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the person, and it sounds like you're the same way, that I'm not going to go sit in front of a TV and eat bonbons.
I can't.
I can't. I knowing that I have 4 builds to accomplish in 25. For just saying that, and like you, there's always something to do.
Yes.
You know, when I worked at Guitar Center in LA, when I first moved there when I was 21, my manager looked at me because I was standing behind the counter, like, oh, I'm in LA now. I'm working at Guitar Center, and oh, there's Vinny Colaiuta and Tommy Aldridge, and I'm going to be a rock star in it. And I was leaning on the counter like this. He goes, "Hey, man." I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "You got time to lean? You got time to clean?" Right?
I've heard it. I have
Right?
Man,
And I've never forgot that. And when I went
We need
back,
to bring back old man.
dude, I'm telling you, when I went back to LA and we played, I think we played the Palladium or something like that.
Yeah.
I went and I saw him, and he was like, his name was Dave Weiderman. He's like, "Dude, I'm so happy for you and congratulations." I'm like, "Dude, you don't understand that what you said to me that day is still ingrained in my head." So every once in a while, if I don't feel like welding, or if I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
I'm going to clean, because you can always clean.
Yeah.
And when I'm done with that, usually about 4 or 5 hours later, I go, "Okay, that's good. I can go home. It was a good day." Or I go,
I'm ready.
"You know, I'm ready to weld."
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's taking myself out of that thing that, like this, and then just going, "Okay, I'm going to go over here for a while, and then I'll come back and readdress it." That's the one thing I can say, dude, with age that I've learned. Like even with that, holy crap, dude, there was some stuff on it that I was just like, what? And I always say this to myself, because Billy used to say, he's like, "Oh, Xavier, what have you done?" And I just did not want to, dude. I did not want to. So closed up the shop and walked around the block a couple times just to break the monotony of that tunnel vision of like, this has to get done. Just go do something else. You'd be surprised how much you forget about it, put it out of your mind for a second, and then when you come back, something always happens, dude, and you're like,
Yeah.
But that's good advice just in life, because that's what keeps you passionate and grounded. Because what you're doing is you're taking yourself out of that space of this is
the
a
tunnel.
job,
Yeah, this is it. This is it.
job.
Yeah.
No, it's not. This
Yeah.
is what I enjoy
Right.
doing. So I'm gonna step away until I feel it, and I'm
Right.
gonna come back in. It's gonna open up that.
Then it's hey Jace, you got. How are we looking on our timeline?
Yeah, because then I'm like, well, did
it's
we
like-
have that conversation of when the deadline is? I
always-
can't remember.
Yeah. Well, there's always like I have an obligation to produce 4 of these a month at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I have an obligation because this doesn't essentially pay for the livelihood.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you define obligation versus the definition of commitment?
Contracts.
That's a good one. I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
Just the contracts of working with brands, and like I said, I started a podcast out of the wanting to converse and talk to people,
Right.
But I would say that the motive at the beginning was more so like, oh, I'm Jace and I know cool people and I'm gonna we're gonna share our knowledge to the world, not
take over the world.
realizing how much I was gonna gain through all the conversations and change who I was through it. But that's neither here nor there. But the thing is that like this is a job now. Yeah. It's a job that I really do enjoy doing. Right. And it is kind of one of those jobs that as I'm, 25 plus years in the paint world, I'm worried that I'm going to have health problems. And I'm like, well, if I can cut it out maybe at 45 or reduce it to the point where it's small enough to where it's going to be a minuscule part of my life, but I'm still scratching the itch.
Sure.
I need something to pay the bills. I need something to do that provides value, that has an aspect of creativity involved in it. Right. It has an aspect of, a feedback. Like you paint a shitty paint job, the customer might like it, but the culture doesn't. Well, okay, I need to step it up. You put out a couple podcasts going down a direction that people don't give a fuck about. All right, I need to reel it back in and get back on track with what, not letting the world dictate what I do, but realizing that left to your own mind,
still
you can go down
the pulse.
Yes.
Still having your ear to the pulse.
Well, because you're in a world that to some degree depicts that.
Yeah.
You have to keep your finger on the trigger and your ear on the pulse, because if not, then your content, your integrity, all get compromised.
Yeah.
Or suffer. Mm-hmm. And that's not what you're about. And I don't think that anybody that does stuff like this can afford to do.
It's a weird thing. Like I was thinking, when I edit one of these things, like, and I have to listen to the whole thing and listen to myself, like I literally hate it. I hate listening to myself talk.
Yeah.
I hate a lot of things. And so I'm like, why do you do this? If you hate the way you sound and all this stuff, why do you do it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I kind of have to now. I'm kind of like stuck in it, right? I do love it. I love this part of it. I hate the behind the scenes of it,
course.
Right? But I always think like, man, like, well, if I lose my sponsors, would I still do this without being paid? And I'm like, I don't know that I would.
Right.
I mean,
that is a maturity.
I know I would talk. I would want this.
Of course.
I don't know if I would go through the hassle of creating this.
That's knowing where to place the effort with the proper motive. Because if it's not with the proper motive, then why? Why are you doing it? Fortunately for you, your motive coexists with the financial aspect of it.
Now, here's the other thing. If somehow I became a millionaire, I would still do this.
Of course.
Because
dude, if GNR called me tomorrow and wanted me to go out for 6-8 weeks, I would go. Because I would be like, first of all, you can say that your builder is now the current drummer GNR, which has pedigree legs of its own, but I would still come back and build motorcycles. I would never just give it up.
Yeah.
Even to the point, because somebody asked me that the other day. Look, how long do you actually think you can do this? Not how long do I want to do this, but how long do I think I can do this? And I thought, that's a really good question. And I said, I think to my heart's content.
Yeah.
To some degree, I will always be involved in this. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, if I'm senile and in a wheelchair and in a corner blowing bubbles on myself, okay, well then no. But I always think and I always say to myself, that's not today.
Yeah.
Today is good. I don't know about tomorrow. I can't do anything about yesterday, and I can't do anything about tomorrow. Yeah. I'm not that good. I gave up that job a long fucking time ago. Right now, this is it.
Yeah.
Right here. That's it, man. And as much as I used to live in a world of like, and the record, and even with the bike, what's next? There's always the idea of it, but I do not focus. I do not place so much emphasis on it that it takes away from what's going on right now. Because if I'm worried about that, I'm not paying attention to you and I'm not having a good time here.
Yeah.
And dude, I can't even tell you how many months, years of my life that I lost that I cannot remember because of just that mentality. I want to drown out everything that I don't want to feel, or because, and then not remember. Like, can you imagine being a musician and wanting to get to a place where all of this stuff you saw on MTV and all the concerts that you went to, you wanted to do that. And then you get it, and then you can't remember a whole tour. Like I can't even remember half of the Nickelback tour. That's fucking sad.
Wow.
Some people think, oh, dude, because you were just... No, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
For me. For other people that view it differently, that's cool. You're entitled to your opinion. Not my problem. For me, when I think about that kid in his closet while all my friends were out fucking having a good time, fucking chicks, doing their thing, and I was in a closet with a kick drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat, and a metronome. Because I wanted that so fucking bad, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
Then I get blessed enough to have it, and I don't respect it. And then because of what? Because I wasn't in the moment. Everything for me now is the moment.
Yeah.
And some of those moments are not good, dude. Some of those moments are filled with like having conversations with people that I don't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, man, can't do anything about that. Can't do anything about that. This is all I've got. Because at some point in time, it's all going to go away.
Yeah. Once again, not trying to make it about me, but this therapy session is brought to you by.
That's the fucked up thing is like, I when Jason and I get together and like even with the guy, the guy that you brought the other day?
Ramon.
Ramon said the nicest thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was so fucking cool. Like, see, that had more of an effect on me, Jace.
Yeah.
Than, oh, I love your bike and I love your record. When he said that, because he doesn't know me, dude. He knows the band, but he doesn't know me.
Yeah.
And for him to make a comment like that was more valuable
Yes.
to my soul and spirit than 99.8% of the shit I see.
When people make those kind of comments and they make those kind of, for lack of a better term, posts, right?
Yeah.
There's no ulterior motive there. That is a true thing, right?
Yeah, because
it's not like it's like, hey man, I'm gonna make this post because maybe you can take me on tour.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll get a swing arm.
Yeah.
No. So that type of thing, because we were in a moment, dude. We were having a moment. And those moments can be good and sometimes they can be really fucking bad.
Yeah.
But and again, all of that comes with age, Jace. We didn't care about that when we were kids, dude.
Yeah.
We did not care because we didn't give a fuck about tomorrow. Not in the sense that I don't give a fuck about it now.
You got
It was
something to lose now.
right. I have experience now on the things that I don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
The trying to have goals, but not so much expectations and not to get so outside of the present is kind of what my problem was in 2024.
Yeah.
Is that I had massive goals. My life revolved around those goals. And while I was in those goals, I just felt like I missed out on all the other shit that was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it was a good year for me business-wise in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I think, but it was a very good year for me
Growth-wise.
perspective-wise. And not saying I'm like that. It's changed.
Right.
That it's an evolution. It's
called a work in progress, brother.
And like going into this year with this shovelhead build.
Yeah.
We were just talking downstairs. I'm like, man, now looking at my timeline, I'm kind of okay with pushing the timeline instead of like. The problem is that I have a podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And you talk about your goals and plans on a podcast.
Sure.
To create engagement and
Sure,
content.
absolutely.
And it's about like you have to be a lot more open, at least I do on here, than because I'm the fucking constant, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is you say you're gonna do something, and then by the time it's time to deliver on that promise, you might not feel it anymore or whatever. And you don't want to be taken as a guy that's that doesn't do what they say they're gonna do.
Right.
That there is like an integrity aspect of that.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of hard when you're like, you know what? I'm building this bike to run to do El Diablo. Well, right now I'm trying to get ahead of it going like, look, yes, I do want to have it for El Diablo.
But
it looks like it might
I got
be
this
more.
customer across the table going, hey, man, so how are we doing on that timeline?
But I think also, Jace, in defense of that, I feel like the podcast and you being genuine about that helps resonate with your audience because you know what? We all want to attain this goal,
Sure.
right? And you remind everyone, hey man, even at the upper levels of this, man, sometimes it just the cards don't play out the way you want them to, and that's okay.
I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And I have to get into the frame of thought that I have to accept that. And if I'm not willing to accept it, then the only person I'm going to be battling the entire time that process goes the other way is me in here. And that's a really bad place to be, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing you said about, you know, the expectations and goals, I don't know where any of us would be if we didn't have any of that, you know? Now I can tell you when it comes to relationships, I can't have a resentment against somebody unless I have an expectation first. That's a fucking hard ass truth.
Yeah.
If I go into something like that knowing this is what this is, I'm cool. When I create something else in my head, like you don't know how hard it was for me to text you and go, hey man, because in my mind, I have given my baby over to you.
Yeah.
And knowing that thing, again, now with a commitment, now we're back to commitments and obligations. I've placed that thing in your hands. And I sat back and I went, he's a fucking professional.
Yeah.
Let him do his fucking job.
Yeah.
Until he doesn't do his job, then we can have a conversation. And what did you do? Literally, dude, I was at Mark's. And it's 9:30 and we're putting together the motor today. And then bing, hey man, here's the car, looks great. And dude, my whole being went,
Yeah.
because I was just, but once again, I showed myself another example.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah. The professionalism. Yeah. Like, you know, when I get a helmet order, right? Like I put it up, post out the other day, I had like 3 spots open. I try to book myself for 6 months in advance, right?
Yeah.
For the guy wanting a helmet, they want their helmet, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, look, for me, I want to know that I have a paycheck in 6 months.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I can't do this all at once. So having all the stuff booked out, having a row of helmets on the shelf ready to get taken apart, that gives me a peace of mind of knowing, okay, I don't have to think about money next month. I need to focus on the jobs that are in front of me. And I'm going to get those done. And when the time comes to that helmet, will happen. The thing with, I forgot where I was going with that, but like, I need that. Like if you know,
It's a security factor.
if I have to chase money every month, then I can't focus on the process, right? If I have 1 month relationships with sponsors on the podcast, then every month I have to go into salesman mode to court a new fucking sponsor to run 1 month, you know, like then I got to do it again next month. Like, fuck that. I want a relationship
Exactly.
to work with somebody so that, yes, I want to be of value to them, but I don't want to have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think once again, maybe being on the outside of it, you don't really see how much job security that is. When those companies are willing now, some of them have some of them have probably fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the percentage of them because those helmets are lined up down there, dude.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever it is, the process that you do personally is still working.
Yep.
Yeah. And I
You
mean,
know? And don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at with all that stuff and trying to do that. But like I said, it is all a work in progress.
Yeah.
Even after you've readjusted and changed, it's like there's a new set of parameters to work with.
When you left on the 15th of January with that stuff down there, when you left, I sat there in the shop and I went, December, yeah. I went, okay. You met that deadline, Xavier. He said the 15th. You made the 15th. You stayed here for multiple nights till 3 a.m. It's done. He's got it. And I went, okay, cool. Yeah. And I sat back like this. And then I went, wait, there's the long bike I've got to start. That FXR, that CFL, and that Indian Larry build. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's good because there it is. There's your helmets down on the shelf. There's my work.
Yeah.
It's right there. And all of those people understand that I don't work with my money. I work with your money. End of story. You know, and like you, all that means security in 6 months because you know that check's going to clear.
Yeah.
It's going to come. It better.
It's like I get it. Like I get that. I mean, there's a lot of painters out there.
Yeah, there is.
You
And
know?
that's exactly what I was about to say. There's a lot of painters. There's a lot of builders. The fact that they still come to you, the fact that they're coming to me, like I said, there's the proof in the pudding. I'm good. I place my balls on the table. I've rolled the dice. It's working. I'm not going to question it. If it goes away tomorrow, okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, okay. That's it, man.
Yeah. You know, the fab, all this stuff, like when I kind of, when we were building that FXR, you know, what was really great about the FXR tour, or still is, you know, is that it created the opportunity for me to do something outside of the norm.
Sure.
And it opened up a can of worms that has changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody that was involved in that first year, and I'm sure a lot of the people that followed through on the second year, will probably attest to that you can go in there and build the thing that you're known to build, that you always do, or you can shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
And I did. But I was surrounded by so many fucking awesome people that
that weren't like, no, dude, you can't do that. No, they're like, fuck yeah, let's go, dude. What do we got to do? Let's cut it up. Let's make it happen.
One thing I want to be able to say, and I think that you can 100% attest this because we've already kind of talked about it, is that, you know, Corey is a wealth of knowledge and skills and time, and he's willing to give it to people.
Right.
But it drives me nuts when people don't give him the credit for where that knowledge came from.
Right.
Because even the knowledge that he acquired from his first M8 FXR of, you know, getting with Justin from Torch FXR division, he still gives credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like the same thing. It's like I wouldn't have that bike. I wouldn't have this chopper that I'm doing without him setting down and offering up this knowledge.
That's right.
And to me, when I see people that I know would not be on that bike or doing this or having this without, every time you get a chance, you should be shouting from the rooftops to people who help, support, and give and do so.
Who encouraged you and who basically said, yeah, you can do this. And I'm willing to show you if you're willing to shut up and listen.
Exactly.
And when that doesn't happen, which it happens all of the time, at some point in time, the wool can't be pulled over people's eyes anymore, bro.
Well, what happens on social media is that this is what happened. People will be trying to give credit to people and sing their praises. You know what I mean? And then people are like, oh man, you're dick riding. Why you all on that dude's dick? Aren't you your own man? It's like, I think that people get in other people's heads a lot and they make it to where they don't want to.
Anybody who says that, there's an internal issue.
Exactly.
There's a problem. I don't have any. Why do you think I talk about Billy so much? Because he was the first guy who set me straight. Yeah. You can do this. Just don't fucking do it for the wrong reasons. You know, anything. And I think I'm guilty once or twice in the beginning when things started to move and I thought my shit was better, that it didn't stink for a second. I'm man enough to say that. And I think there was probably a couple of feathers that I ruffled. And I tried my best to make amends and make it right. But that's not now. You know, all the guys that fucking helped me, like they're and it's funny because there's not a lot of them. Yeah. There's a 3 or 4 key players: Billy, Paul, Jeff, Rick Bray, Jason Hallman, Paul Cox, guys that I know that I can call up. And I mean, for anybody to think that no one man is an island, dude, you know? And I fucking hate when people say that, well, I did this and I made it all that. Okay, well, did you make the tires? No. Did you make the motor? No. Did you make the gears and the transmission? No, just shut the fuck up. Yeah. There's not too many guys that I know that can do it all. Yeah. And I mean all of it, from one end of the spectrum to the other. And I don't want to be that guy, dude. I love the fact that I don't want to do paint. That's not anything. That's your gig, you know?
But this is the one thing I tried to expose with the FXR tour, with everybody making a post every week about the build. It takes a lot of people to build a bike. Not a lot, but it takes more than one person.
Absolutely.
Right? You could be the baddest fabricator in the world, but you really don't have torque specs remembered, and you got a mechanic for that, or you have a painter, or you have there's all these different things, but they all come together and make the best product.
Absolutely.
Or you could say I did it all myself and it's a pile of shit.
So cool. Make
But
claim to that.
the fabrication's good, but the paint looks like
paint
ass.
looks like ass,
The-
right,
The motor
right.
doesn't work. You know, like you don't know how to tune suspension, so your fucking thing doesn't go down the road without doing this.
Exactly.
So it's like,
exactly.
why not?
When people say stuff like that, dude, when I hear that, I go, you know what? Listen, man. Jesse James built the fucking Psycho Bailey Cadillac tank.
Yeah.
Okay, we can stop right there. You know, and again, I can't control what all those other cats do, and I don't want to because I don't have the fucking time for it. All I know is I watch that stuff and I learn from it, and I go, that's not what I want to be, nor how I want to act, or how I want to treat other individuals. I don't have a problem giving props to the guys that help me. I don't.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that I can call up Rick and go, hey, dude, I am fucking whacked on time. My mom's sick. I need a tank. Okay, what do you need it by? Send me the dimensions. That's it.
Yeah.
And when it's done, I go, this is a Rick Bray tank. It's my motorcycle. I built it, but this is a Rick Bray tank.
Yeah.
And anybody who out there who has a problem with that, I don't understand that. I really don't. And that's one of the things about the industry that bums me out. Again, it's not about the motorcycles. It's about the people. It's like, why can't you be excited for somebody about something? Why do people have to piss on it just to make themselves feel better?
The day, so when I finished the bike, it was the most craziest day of my life, right? I finally, because I didn't post like any pictures of the bike until, we were headed we went to Terralingua, then we were going to Durango.
Right.
So I went to Terralingua to go support a buddy's event, but it was the Ring of Fire eclipse was going on.
Oh, gotcha.
And I'm like, you know what, man? Maybe I'll be in a spot where I can take pictures.
Sure.
Whatever. Maybe it'll be in there, maybe not. But definitely the lighting to shoot while a eclipse is going on, even if you're not in the path to totality, it's badass. So I got these awesome photos this whole day. It's fucking surreal. Like that day riding around after I made it to Terralingua and we were riding around, we shot all these photos that are kind of like just iconic to me for putting the bow tie on it or whatever. The next day, I finally post the pictures to the world. I'm getting messages from Paul Tuttle, all these people in the industry going, that's a killer bike. You did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm on fucking cloud 9. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The closest people in my life, nothing.
Sure.
At the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Then I started having all these problems, charging problems. I ended up breaking down in the middle of New Mexico.
Right.
Blessing in disguise, I met one of the most amazing dudes in that process, and I wouldn't change that, but it set in motion the end of a lot of friendships.
Yeah.
That I played a part in, not
A lot of acquaintances.
acquaintances,
There's
right?
a big difference.
But at the same time, I'm not sitting here pointing and going
Sure.
oh, you guys fucked me over. Nothing. It set in motion a change in my life.
Yeah.
But at the most, like the highest and the lowest in one fucking day.
In one day.
You know?
That's that roller coaster ride. But the greatest thing about that is that you got to experience that. And now you have firsthand knowledge of how to navigate stuff like that. Because that's all it is, dude. Everything that we do in life right now, at least for me, is navigating the waters of whatever's in front of me. Okay. Yeah. And then knowing, again, that guy was really close. I thought he was a good friend of mine. And then I heard through the grapevine, and then I go, it's cool. I'm not going to go up and bust his jaw. Yeah. I know now. We're good. Good to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm gone. Because I don't have, again, I don't have any more space in my being to harbor negativity for stuff for people.
Yeah.
If they're not on my side. They don't want to be on my side. Not everybody's going to like me. I'm okay with that now. Yeah. I wasn't okay with it a long time ago because I was a people pleaser and had to. I don't even, especially with motorcycles.
Yeah, yeah. You're coming into the world. You want everybody to,
Yeah, I want to be accepted. I want you to like me because that's, I'm a megalomaniac with an inferiority complex. Yeah. That's the fucking truth. But what I've learned is that if I place forth the effort to be a friend to you, and you don't reciprocate that, there's nothing that I can do about that. What you think about me is none of my business. All I can do is create an environment that's open and inviting and helpful. And if you don't want a part of that, that's cool. Because chances are, over here, I'm going to meet somebody like you did in New Mexico that showed it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck, that's what it looks like. And all the while I was focusing over here because that's what I thought it looked like.
Yeah, it's like you know, like I said, I try not to like talk about it, and I haven't really publicly talked about it much, but it's one of those things that like I don't hate them. Just I don't hate this. It's just
move on.
Move
on, dude.
But it definitely fucked with my head for quite a while.
Absolutely, dude. Same thing when I left the band.
Yeah,
18 years.
I mean,
18 fucking years.
You're watching that thing go on that you helped create.
Wow. Wow, really? Like I wasn't even important to you. Holy fuck. Wow.
Yeah.
And then I had to go and do all of that ugly self-research and go, okay, what was my part? And what am I going to do about it? I need to move on. I have all that. It was cool. It was great. Now I have this.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. All right.
Time to rock and roll.
We're good.
2:45.
Yeah.
That's good, dude.
We even stopped and checked the time and rolled in a whole nother conversation.
How do you like that?
All right, Xavier. Thank you.
Of course, what'd you say, dude? This therapy session to you was brought by
Pfizer.
Pfizer.